Hello, hello, and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is my wonderful co-host, Danny, and we have a fun show for you today. We're going to be talking about our spleen gates in human design. We're going to follow that up with the will gates. We're going to start off with the spleen.
Spleen is good. These are gates in this particular center that are profound enough to where everyone should actually recognize them as a matter of course. Oh yeah, we do that. Oh yeah, we do that because the spleen is our oldest living awareness. So I have a feeling people will be able to dial in quite readily as to what these genetic structures in our behavioral way are doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who's watching live and on the replay. Thank you for liking and subscribing and helping us grow. And let's get into it.
Like and subscribe, everyone. Please send it around too. Let's get a whole human design community going, right? Yes.
So we're going to start off talking about the spleen, the splenic system in human design. This relates to health and values. And we're going to start off with gate 18, which is work on what has been spoiled, and the gate of correction. And it is part of collective logical circuitry, and it hooks up to the root to gate 58.
And I like that you have health and values. I mean, the spleen is our immune system. I mean, and it is one of the things that's named after the organ that it's named after. It's like the washing machine of the body, constantly washing out the stuff, and it lives in the now. So everything we're going to talk about is existential, right in the now things. Its awareness is moment by moment, much like the sacral. But the work on what has been spoiled. I'm here to correct things. I'm here to make it better. I want to share making it better. And then the not self of this is I demand my sharing, be listened to all the time, or I get very annoyed if I think they're not taking seriously what is it I'm saying. It's not always our job to take the 18 seriously. And of course, the 18 has a way to beguile things too. I mean, it can simply sit there and try to challenge essentially the authority just to see that it's working. But its job is to challenge authority. That's its job. So everyone knows 18 people. They have something to say about things. And it's a projected channel. So it can get a little bit bitter if they can't share it. And then they really need to step back and say, if I'm getting bitter, that's my not self. That's the not self of this bitterness would be. And in this one, it would stand out, I would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, this one I think would be like very overt. It's also this gate of judgment, and it's recognizing, as it says, working on what has been spoiled. It's here to correct stuff that is gone askew. And there's a lot of stuff that goes askew. So I would imagine an 1858 or even just gate 18 is going to notice all these weird little things, and being projected in nature, it's like projected channels just so want to improve. This
Yep.
isn't going right, and I want to make it better. I feel like as an underlying theme with all projected channels, this one I would imagine would be especially strong and poignant, and it's collective, so it extra wants to share. It's, hey, that is not in line with vitality, right? Because gate 58 is vitality, it's health, it's this wellness, it's this this joy and vitality at life. So the 18 wants to encourage that, and hey, this is not aligned with vitality, let's fix it. So it's like, yeah, let's fix it. So if it's not heard, it would be so crushing.
Yeah, no, I quite concur. The work on what has been spoiled is really important to this. And so gate 18 will also notice, I mean, it can be picky, and notice, you're right about the judgment, by the way. It is one of the mouthpieces of judgmentation, even though it's not connected to the throat, of course. But what else about 18? It's not only does it want to correct things, actually, it and challenge things, it notices everything. It just does. So I have an 18 partner and I sweep dirt under the rug. I'm going to get told about that sooner or later. And someone who's not an 18 either may never notice, or just that they notice, it wasn't necessarily that I even did it. It's they just unsweep it. It's they're sweeping and then they look under the rug. They're simply going to sweep out what's there and not really think much about it, unless it's a lot, of course. But they will. They'll notice their spices. What'd you do with my spices? Where's my things? I put this here. I put that there. I see a lot of that in 18. and that's a splenic dealio. Where's the thing? Uh, uh, you've spoiled my dinner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good point. And I also wanted to bring up the fact that 18, it's collective, right? It's not individual. So it's here to notice the things that are askew from vitality. It's here to fix those things on a collective manner and in the pursuit of joy. So I know a lot of times 18 can get really persnickety and judgmental towards itself or towards others. And there's a healthy expression of that and an unhealthy, but especially it's like they can get really picky on themselves. So I would
Yeah.
just say, like, be cautious of that, because 18 is about bringing about more joy, more vitality into life. It's not about nitpicking yourself to oblivion.
An excited 18 that can spread the joy of 58 is like a real force to be reckoned with. That's truly excited because it doesn't have to challenge anything. Things are good, nothing's spoiled, and it doesn't live in only spoiled. It's the not self of it does. And so
Mm,
everything's spoiled or about to be spoiled or could be spoiled, all that stuff. Spleen doesn't know what could be. Spleen is existential. Its awareness is in a vibration, and that is only now, only moment to moment, right? That's the frequency of the spleen's awareness, unlike the other two awareness centers. So I feel
that's
pretty good about this.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, that moment by moment awareness on what has been spoiled in the aim of creating more vitality and sharing it with the collective.
The good, right? That's what it is.
I'm doing it. So
Me too.
next, next up, we have gate 28, which is preponderance of the great and the gate of the great game player. It is part of individual knowing circuitry hooking up with root gate 38.
So notice we're doing what we did before when we did the root center. So we're going down one side, right? And we're just getting the ones that face the root, the opposite of the root center. So all of this stuff is collecting adrenalized root pressure, adrenalized joy. Here is adrenalized fight. And 28 is not the fighter at all. It's not the fighter. It's just doing the same thing. If 18 is sitting there looking around as to what's been spoiled, 28 is literally looking around moment to moment, becoming aware of what is worth living for.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal. We have a genetic construct in humanity that individually wishes to empower everyone else with what is worth living for. What's the purpose of all of this? And it actually zeroes in moment to moment as to what that purpose is. And it's got a great fear, of course. Um, fear. The 18's fear, by the way, is the fear of too much authority over it. And the 28 is the fear of purposelessness. And its most extreme, the fear of death, or the fear of life coming to an end at some point without ever having figured out your purpose. I always wanted to be an artist and I never did anything, or something, just purposelessness.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, we just had the 28 come through with the solar transits a couple weeks ago. And I have the 38, but not the 28. And I got such a rush of, like, I'm sick of being such a lump. And I, like, started
Yes.
working out again and eating
Yes.
healthier. And, like, I'm on this whole, like, you know, adventure
So
now of that. But I was like, oh, wow, this is the 28 of, like, life has to be worth living. What's worth living for? Okay, take better care of yourself and do something worthwhile. And I go ahead.
well, just when speaking of the transits, so people, you can notice these when they come into your body graph, is what Moni's pointing out. Gate 3, when we had 3 and 50 a week or two ago, um, I noticed the gate 3 in my body graph pretty much right away. That's when I started planting everything. I wasn't sure where I would do this and where I would plant that and da 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 da. And I was only putzing around, and then suddenly I'm in it. Gate 28 will do the same thing. There's a 38 in your body graph. There's a fight worth fighting. There's a struggle worth having. Gate 28 is a big part of this struggle, and that struggle is death to the other. So if you have the whole channel, there's a certain profound deafness and even a willingness to obscure things while you're looking for your purpose, because, well, it is the great game player. This thing will play games right up until its sixth line, where it could just roll off a cliff to find out what was worth living for. So facing death is something gate 28 contemplates. It's not just 51 and 25, for instance, or whichever other gates you might put in there. This gate contemplates death. And there's one other really cool feature about this gate. It's the fact that it takes integration, which is above it, 57 up to the throat and 10 and 34, and it makes it become less selfish. If 28 walks into a room or enters the clique of people, that are a couple peeps sitting around, um, whatever integration is there, 28 makes it start to aid and abet the pursuit of purpose. So that's a big deal because think about it, integration could care less about your purpose or any other purpose. It's just survival right now. Integration is just that, survival now. And 28 says, no, 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 there's this too. So it actually pulls, think of how much that would pull people every time 28 or 28 and 38 as a channel are defined in that room. That room will always be looking for purpose because integration is already busy. So just think of the definition of this. You put this in a room, as soon as there's 4 or 5 people, this will be there, right? Almost all the time. And so as much as that 4 or 5 people want to do their own integrative thing, they can't. Something will show up to make the group find a purpose or aid and abet, empower someone there to find their purpose to something. And it shows up. You never get a group of 4 or 5 people together where they're not suddenly try to find something to do. Don't you? It's almost
Hmm.
like you can't help it. It's like, I don't want to find something to do. Well, we can't just sit here. Why not? You know?
Yeah,
But
I like,
then came the cell phone, and then everyone can sit there. Actually, now that I think of it. So
but before that, I like
yeah,
how you said that the 28 as that pursuit of purpose. I really like
the
that
purpose.
as a keynote.
That's its whole gig, man. Yep.
Yeah, I think of the 2838 as the like I have a dream, like the
Yes.
very like Martin Luther King, like I have a dream, it's gonna be super cool, and like let's pursue that, let's fight for something worthwhile, let's fight for a purpose worthwhile is like the 2838, and the 28 is awareness of that pursuit of what is worthwhile.
Moni, I do this thing. I have a dream, you just said. Now, for everyone who's watching this, what we're doing over and over again is we're coming to a genetic expression that is within us. It's unique, it's individually there. It's there all on its own, and it's there with all the rest of the gates. And then we come up with keynotes for it. And these keynotes are phrases or words that describe it in the language we use. Japanese keynotes would sound a little different than ours, but they all come to the same thing. They will come to, it's like a love
Same
language. And
foundation.
same foundation. It's like love, you know what I mean? You don't have to speak the same language to have a love language with somebody, right? You
Hmm.
just don't. Same thing here. Human design will translate just like mathematics. And so I think I forgot the point I was trying. What was the point I was trying to make? How would you
The
know?
pursuit of purpose and the I
Thank
have a
you.
dream.
Thank you. You're right. So what I find is that one really turned me on, the pursuit of purpose, and then we have a dream, because I will take that we have a dream, and I started applying it in my mind as we were talking to a bunch of other gates that might do something like that, and I couldn't come up with one quickly. Meaning it's a really good keynote when it doesn't repeat itself too much. That's a good keynote or a good phrase for the gate. I have a dream. I thought of 41 right away, with desire. Desire schmeyer, maybe it'll change. But you got a dream and you're not getting off that thing, and you don't have to be a second line to be called into that, right?
Hmm.
That's 2838. Absolutely. Pick another one, 5125. You know what I mean? That's like, well, I'm going to leap into this thing. Maybe it's for great purpose. I am certainly taking quite a risk, but it's different. It's not the
Yeah.
same thing. It's not quite, I have a dream, but maybe it's a little, I have a dream right now, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this one
Hmm.
is the enduring. This could be, and it has the potential to endure and bring all of that integration circuitry above it along with it. Kicking and screaming sometimes, I'm sure. So, right? I don't
Hmm.
want.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like all of that. And then another thing I wanted to make sure we touch on with gate 28 is it's also called the gate of struggle. So I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit because that could be one of the ones that you see and you're like, I have 28 as the gate of struggle. Like, come on, like there could be some feelings about that.
Yeah, and so the struggle is, I would almost call the struggle more in 38. but either way, as soon as you have the whole channel, and 28 is also, when you have the whole channel, there's a struggle. That's the thing. This is called the channel of struggle. It's, in fact, it's the channel that gets the keynote of struggle. Now that I think of it,
Okay, cool. Good.
that's what it is. That's why they both have it. I was wondering if I would remember that, but the struggle that shows up in all of this obviously is they're struggling to find their moment to moment purposefulness. And that is a big struggle. If I do this, I can't do that. And if I don't do that, this can't do this. Oh, shoot, where did I put my keys? Oh, darn, I have to, you know what I mean? Oh, no, I don't want to. That's too much. I'm not doing it. And it's like, the partner sitting there is like, honey, come on. We're just going to pick up some pizza.
Mhm.
Say you
There's
don't
always
need
some
the
little
keys. We'll take my
persnickety.
car. Yes. And they're just
Uh-huh.
struggling. So, well, I got this thing. And the, the struggle would be the second looker that always looks back to make sure they got the things they needed on their way to do
That's
something.
me.
Yeah.
I have the 38. That's totally me.
Constantly looking to say, is that the thing? Is that the thing that I
I need
needed?
this. I always need a few extra minutes to leave the house. I'm like, you go to the car. I'll be there in like 5, 10 minutes. Let me grab a couple
Right.
last things. I might need something.
Right. Everything becomes a struggle. And the not self of this gate and this whole channel would be that struggle becomes the purpose without any aim, without any awareness, and without any true purpose that feels fulfilling. So you struggle as a matter of, look at me, I'm struggling, rather than internally as an internal, because it's individual. So it's only it's only now, and it's only empowering me first, so I can empower others with it. And so Gate 28 would love to empower you with what its struggle has uncovered. I love a good struggle, right? I mean, Einstein struggled, all the musicians struggle, right?
Well,
And
and
then
any
then they give us good music.
Yeah, that's part of the like gate of the great game player I really like because no one wants to play a boring game. Like you don't want it to be too hard. Like there's a sweet spot between like way too easy and way too difficult. Nobody wants to play a way too easy game as much as no one wants to play something that's way too difficult. It's that middle level where you can play with the game, but there's always going to be a new challenge, a new little bit of struggle, a new little like rubbing up against something, which makes it worthwhile.
Yes, yes. The worthwhileness, the endless pursuit of that which is worthwhile to the individual, so it's unique. So by the way, you have this gate or this channel. Your struggle is not your partner's struggle or the other person's struggle. And you can't tell them it's supposed to be. I mean, we get into a lot of that in our world these days. It's like, I think this, and if you don't think that, then, I struggle to come to this, and if you're not here, you're bad.
Hmm.
No,
Hmm.
no can do, right? Just no can do. That's disempowering, and that would be the not self of that, and that will lead to just endless alienation, frankly.
Yeah, and everyone's got their own struggle. Like when you're struggling and someone appears not, like they have their own struggle going on, or they just went through a struggle, or theirs is coming up. Like everyone's got some crazy stuff going on. So
Well, think of what the mind does to us. The mind gives us an endless toy box of concepts.
yeah.
And so, of course, this spleen is going to have so many things to struggle about because it's got lots of rich material coming in.
Hmm.
Never mind that also the solar plex will give it plenty of emotional stuff, but just the mind alone, that will go straight to all the things one could struggle for. The trick is to not allow mind to create the struggle. The struggle is that which fits your strategy and authority, and it feels good to you, and it feels like it's coming from within, and it sort of lights you up, and like you don't mind. You don't mind. It's like that Rubik's Cube. I know, but I'm going to get it. I don't mind. It's like you've been at it for 2 hours, right? And I don't mind.
It's a juicy struggle.
Yep, the juicy struggle. Yes, that's the true self of 28. The juicy struggle that is not taken too personally if others don't feel empowered by yours or don't partake in it or whatever. In fact, half the time they're not even going to share what their struggle is anyway. So anyway,
Perfect. All right, ready to mosey?
moving on.
All right, let me get the cursor over here. Doop, doop. And finally, we have gate 32, which is duration and the gate of continuity. And it's part of tribal ego circuitry hooking up to root gate 54.
Oh, this thing's got a job. I mean, this thing has a job. The other two things are creative pursuits. One of them acts like it has a job, 18. 28 won't admit what its job is until the struggle comes through. But this one has an actual job. It's clocking in every day in one way, shape, or form because it wants to be driven. It's part of the channel of a design to be driven. And it's designed to take a pressure off of, again, off of the root, a pressure to move that wants to move up the ladder and wants to advance their tribal, wealth and their tribal security and their tribal goodness. And it's instinctually becomes aware that this is the right thing, that isn't the right thing. This is the right thing, that isn't the right thing. And its job is to measure between conservativeness and liberalness. Sometimes you gotta be liberal, although this gate very much has a very conservative nature. It's like, this is what works. It's the way my pappy did it. It's the way I'm doing it, that type of thing. And that's the way you're doing it. And then along comes 28 with its struggle. It's like, I didn't like that way. I struggled and start doing it this way. And so 28, just like 51 will change the tribe, 28 will too. 28 will come along and say, no, I found this way and I'm stubborn because 28's stubborn. This one is covertly stubborn. It's not going to let you know that it's being necessarily stubborn, but it is done.
Tribal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say tribal. It's like an individual that's like struggling and annoyed. Like
you can see it in their face.
You can see it. It's right there. Whereas like 32 is part of the tribe, and so that is tribal cohesion. That's
They're
tribal
hold it
hierarchy.
closer to the vest.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes a lot of sense. Sorry to interrupt, but I was like, "Oh, that's
no. I'll keep going. I always forget to stop. And then I get in the unenviable spot every once in a while. I'm looking for something to say, like to add the extra thing on. So you can butt in all the time. What else about 32? Besides its conservative nature, it has a fear. Now, this is a fear that you will recognize, and everyone with a 32 recognizes this. The fear of too much authority in 18, yeah, probably. That's why they stay away from it. The fear of death without a purpose, I'm sure the 28 can absolutely identify with that. But this one will ring out loud the fear of failure, right? The fear of, oh my God, I was too conservative. There is one of my first teachers was like, oh, I was taking a class with just one other student, and it was it was an intimate little thing. And this was long ago, and we were both defined up the splenic side mostly. Me, I don't have the spleen, but it's all on that left-hand side of the body graph. And she totally had a spleen up the left-hand side. Oh, you guys are more conservative. So you're more, and she went political right away, and she brought it into Republican, Democrat, but I don't need to go. Just say it's more conservative. And if you have this, you end up being more liberal. Now, that's not quite true that you end up being more liberal or more conservative necessarily, but she was trying to make a point that one side is it feels, and the other side is business, and it's trying to take care of my personal business, the business of what I need to correct, and the business of what I don't want to fail. Fear of failure is a wisdom driver in 32. If you live the fear of failure, you will fail at the thing that you were supposed to protect, literally. And if you don't live the fear of failure and you just let it move through, it's like, oh, I got a hit. That will the spleen will drive awareness straight into your mind, and your mind will start to look around and be like, oh God, I'm glad I checked that thing out. We almost, lost an order here or something like that, right? It's like, I just thought to do it. Now that's appropriate way for the fear to work inside the spleen, but not when you're living it out all the time. Like you're living a job that's like, it's constantly going to go south. That's like, imagine living that way, Moni. 32 could easily have this sort of nihilistic view of it's constantly going south on us. It's constantly not working. It's about to fail. It's easy for you to say, I'm always having to fix everything so we don't fail. That type of thing. You get bitter.
It's projected channel.
Projected channel.
All three on this side, projected.
Yep. Ultimately, though, it lives for the tribe. Tribal gates have that keynote of support. And when you get onto the right side, you add sensitivity to support. And you can add that here too, but it just they don't wear it on their sleeve so much. But yeah, that's what this gate does. Continuity, I love it. What do you make of the word duration, Moni?
The ongoing survival of the tribe. That's how I see it as.
I can't wait till we get to 44 because 44 and 32 are kissing cousins.
Oh, that'll be fun to like go into. I wanted to touch on one thing that I thought was really fun from our holiday series, that gate 32 is lit up with the sun when it's tax day in the US. And I thought that was really funny.
What a waste of 32.
But like how
I
perfect,
protest. I 18 protest.
but how perfect that that lines up. Like I
It
find that
is.
absolutely hilarious that the holidays totally
It
line
lines
up
right.
with human design, because it is.
No,
It's
it does because 32 is very conservative. It's
yeah.
32 checked out all the deductions. 32 decided who not to hire and how to make sure they saved enough for all of that. 32 is like a banker a little bit. The wise banker, not the central banker, but like, the family
Mhm.
banker.
Yeah.
32 will decide how much money to spend on Christmas. And it will say something, you know what I mean? It will lash out if something is too far astray.
It's interesting. It's a little bit, but I wonder the relationship of like 32 in the spleen and 21 in the will, because they're both tribal and there's an awareness and like a resource keeping, but 32 feels like it's much more health, survival, safety, longevity of the tribe, where 21 may be a little bit more accounting of resources.
Accounting of the resources all the way around, including who 51 hopped out, who 26 lied to them, who 40 is like didn't go to work or is working on the wrong thing, you know, so all of it, and who 45 is trying to tell it what to do, right? So, but it will listen. It'll be like I got pain. It's like a spider's web. Collective circuitry, yeah, not so much. The emotional channels, maybe. The spleen stuff, because the spleen and the ego, they go together. There's one channel that connects them, yeah, sure, but they just go together. They've always felt like they go together so much, and so because there's conservative nature, that does get pumped into the ego. So like a spider's web, a fly dropped onto 32, and absolutely 21 feels that. And so 21, if 32 spots, that something's going wrong on the factory floor, 21's just as interested in that too, as well as 45 and 26, and 40 is going to get pissed because no one did enough work and all of these things, right? And 44 is going to be afraid. It's like, oh my God, we're all going to, never mind failure on the thing. We're all going to die. So, the
Oh,
spleen constantly informing it all.
super cool. All right, you feel good on the 32? Ready to wrap it
Uh,
up?
yeah, I feel good.
Super fun. We also have a couple of people in the chat who have been like chatting along and like
Oh, what do we
enjoying the
got?
stream.
Say chat thing.
Yeah, there's the first one was Sasha saying, I only have defined spleen and root. I actually realized that I cycle out of mine and everyone else's feelings when I run every day. Otherwise, I have very low energy. So it's kind of neat to notice that like in the moment awareness of one's energy as opposed to just riding on other people's.
I cycle out of my feelings when I get the running part. I'm trying to understand this more. I almost wish we had a call-in show so Sasha could say more about that.
We'll see what the future brings. I got comments right now, but it was really fun though, because also then they're like, I had to go pull up my chart, and they're like, I have the 32, OMG. And I thought that was really super fun. Of like, hang on, I gotta go see my chart. What do I got?
Well, there's espionage in the 32, so there's covertness. Like I said, 32 would be more covert than the other gates, most of the other gates, just generally speaking, because it's got a roving eye looking around with a conservative nature. So it's not always going to share all that. Sometimes it's going to specifically not share that, because it might not be needed. Need to know basis. 32 hands that out.
All right, perfect. So now we have just this little overview on these three gates that we just went over with the 18, the 28, and the 32. They all hook up with the root. So they're receiving this adrenalized root pressure to this splenic awareness in individual, tribal, and collective circuitry.
So it's being informed by the root. So what does that really mean? What are we saying that? So it's adrenalized. Big deal, adrenal schmenal. What does that really mean, right? What does the adrenal?
It's receiving that go energy of that gas pedal, right?
Yes. And that go energy is unlike the other energies that show up, because that go energy has an urgency behind it. Now, when we get to the 27 on the other side of the 50, we'll find a sacral urgency, but it's not there until there's a response to something. This stuff is just constantly poured out. So the go energy that you so aptly noted is a powerful thing that never stops. So these gates have a lot of work. So to wrap them up, with the idea of never stops, I'm struggling for a purpose. I never stop because I got to work on what has been spoiled and what hasn't been spoiled, and so I can recognize it, and we'll all inform 32 so it can calm down. So 32 can not have so much fear of failure. Fear, like I said, this is the more poignant of the fears. Fear of death without a purpose, I can still put it off till tomorrow, you know, right? It's like, "Oh, I'll find some more purpose tomorrow."
I have
Today's
a dream that I can start tomorrow.
right, right. Or I have a dream and I didn't do much about it today, but I'll dream some more tomorrow. Right. Yes, I'll start tomorrow. Perfect. If 32 falls prey to I'll start tomorrow, it pays a price. So, and it fears that price throughout the whole tribe, because part of the failure of it obviously is the failure of myself within the tribe. The
And like the
tribe
survival of the tribe. Go ahead, sorry.
and right, well, the survival of the tribe, but also let's say it's not just the survival of the tribe. Let's just say it's something not quite so profound, but it will be seen as its failure within the tribe. I don't want to
Mm.
be a failure, because that's your social network, man.
Yeah,
That's your
that's like a
family.
reputation kind of thing.
Rep Big time, all reputation here. 32 concerned with
Ah,
reputation for sure. Um, so, but this side is receiving all of that root pressure that you must do these three separate things. That's the thing. So to keynote them together sort of doesn't make sense unless you have them all in your body graph. But to keynote the whole spleen, which everyone should notice when we get to the end, sort of will make sense. But I could put some more keynoting on it, but it just seems to sort of end there. I want to try and do the whole spleen when we get to the end.
cool. Really fun. We got a comment from Chewy. My partner has 32, and all of them kind of point to parental values, which explains why she's an amazing mom. And I thought that was super sweet.
She is an amazing mama, and she gives you what for if you upset her patterns and the things that have brought success before. Is that right? I'm
Oh,
talking
that'll
to
be.
him as if I can really talking to him.
I know you
Sorry.
can get like an immediate. We'll see.
Julie, I get, yeah, yeah. That's my
Chewy, if
big
you got a response for us, Danny is waiting with bated breath.
I know. Well, this is good. We love her for that. Thank you, Mom. We need more moms, don't we?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I feel good.
This is great. All right, so let's mosey on over to now the other four gates here. So continuing on with the spleen, this health, this values, this timing, fears. And so gate 50 is the cauldron and the gate of values, and it's part of tribal defense circuitry, linking up with sacral gate 27.
There's something so critical to notice about this gate. So the sacral starts the light. The sacral energizes the life. It empowers life here on this planet. Because this has a direct connection into the sacral, this is the carrier wave that fires up the spleen's inner workings. Otherwise, we'd still be chimpanzees or something. I mean, we wouldn't have the aware caring. I mean, isn't that one of the things that sets us apart in so many different ways? We know how, we do all that, and our awareness of what we'll do for our kids and our children, all that good stuff.
And the duration of it, too.
Yes. So the cool thing I wanted to point out is as it fires it up, on the emotional side, the same thing happens. 59.6 fires up the emotional wave. But when dispersion of 59 goes into the emotional center, it disperses evenly. It's all got it. 100% of that. This fires up like a sequence. It fires up like so. The first two gates in that sequence are the 32 and the 44. That's the thing. So it gets the big brunt of that hit, the starting of a motor. Where does the big energy drain come when you start up an electric motor? At the beginning, right? Second you hit the switch, you'll see a spike on the meter before it levels back down. That's a perfect analogy for what's going on here. 50 spikes in this cauldron. Now, this cauldron's fear. it's a world-class fear. The fear is the fear of taking on the right responsibilities. Have I taken on the right? Is it too much? Is it if it's I took on way too much and now I'm not going to get any of it done or type thing? It's tribal. So it's with 32, 50 is absolutely informing that, just like it will when it gets to 44. And so this word cauldron to me is the coolest part of 50. To me, it says the most about 50. I am the cauldron of values that will receive the pressure of caring, the sacral response of what to care for, of that I will care. And I, the cauldron, will help steer that in a moment to moment way all day long, never taking a break, like 32 and 44 in a way, to make dying sure that those values are achieved. And 50 becomes part, for that reason, 50 is part of the law. 44 isn't, that's the four ways. 32 isn't. What is 32? 32 is the Maya, I think. That's those aren't the laws. So it's a pretty big deal. 50 as a cauldron determines the viability of the values that will then move into the tribal law through the tribal lawgiver, ultimately up through 21 to 45, and it will help set every last aspect that 51 then gets to either break or not. Well, I mean, it's a perfect little machine.
No, it's great. Just funny.
Yeah. So cauldron is the cauldron is as deep of a deep within the deep as is the 29 coming off the sacral, the way it will persevere, and it will persevere along with the best of them, and the well of depth, the 48 with the great well. 50 is taking aspects of all of it, and it's taking aspects of the right purpose. Now, even though it's an individual purpose coming in, that still becomes part of the values of the tribe. Same thing with what has been spoiled. I know it's collective in the tribe, and the collective don't really talk very much, but 50 will be like, yeah, well, the person over there that's nagging at me, but they're right this time, so I got to deal. I have to deal, and I've got the energy to deal because my source wave comes from the sacral, which is the prime motor. So
Yeah. And I like this idea also. It's like the cauldron, because it's kind of like a funny word. You're like, what the hell does this mean? This idea of like what you're cooked in. It's like it's the container
yep,
that you're cooked in within your tribe that then shapes your values and how in this idea of tribal defense, you defend the tribe and your people, and like what are the values worth sharing to hold together to then cook the next generation in.
absolutely. And in that analogy, it's the 50 would be the beef stock and the rice and the potatoes or whatever, the first foundational stuff that is getting cooked up, that's going to feed everybody. Gate 50's values are very much oriented towards what will feed and nourish everybody, in this tribe. So that cauldron of values does have to go deep, because it has to constantly consider what's going to change over time. If 32 is afraid of change, because it is, that's what failure is. Failure is, oh shit, everything changed. And so if that's its fear, the cauldron has got that in spades. But it's not so much failure, it's because failure is a one-off thing mostly. The depth of this cauldron is all things, and too much responsibility ultimately leads to cataclysmic collapse. Right? It did too much. And so then what would the not self of gate 50 be? I have to do this. I have to do that. You bite off way more than you chew. You feel like it's supposed to be there. It's a value you want to display. Maybe I'm an open ego and I want to prove I have these values, and it took on too much responsibility. Maybe my monkey mind is open, and I open head and ajna, and I thought it mattered, and I thought I was certain, and I thought about too many things, and suddenly I'm all, whatever. Whatever the not self of all the open centers can easily be spoken through gate 50, like big time. Now that I think of it, they all can be. That's actually pretty cool. They can all be spoken through here. I just found that out now. Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. All right. Any thoughts, any final thoughts on 50, or you feel really good?
I feel good.
All right. So we'll mosey on over to gate 44, which is coming to meet, and the gate of alertness, which is part of tribal ego circuitry connecting with the will, gate 26.
This one's dealing with a fire hose, even more so than the 32 below it. And I can't say more so than the gate 50, but the 50 is different, just totally different. This one isn't values. This one, I'm going to start with the fear on 44. It's the fear of extinction. So 28 is death without a purpose, or just coming to the end and not getting any purpose. 32 is just we'll fail on this thing, and 50 is we're going to fail all the way around, too much. 44 is this one little thing will lead to our extinction, or this great big set of things will lead to our extinction, will lead to the tribe's lack of viability quickly. That's what it's looking at. And so what does it inform it to do? Transmit the wisdom that has been collected through 50, 32, 28, and 18. It's constantly and 57 for that matter, and 48. 44 will transmit all of these gates. And where does it transmit it to? The big fat loudmouth of gate 26 when it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can bark out some stuff like a gate 26. I mean, all the spleen gates can say stuff. I mean, ego gates, don't get me wrong. That's what the ego does. The ego will speak, right? No, no, this is the thing. It's got to be this way, even if it might mean a fight or something. The ego's got that willpower. 44 is informing it all the time. No, this is the message to transmit. 26 will say, well, no, I want to transmit this message. Well, you may want to transmit that, but I'm not giving you the awareness of even what to say when you transmit that. We need to transmit this first. So 44 becomes the boss of 26 until 26 protests. And then 26 becomes the boss of 44 and says, no, and you can't have me. And by the way, you can't even make me. I'm the ego. You're just you're cold lizard spleen. You don't even have any energy until I come along, technically 44, so this channel of surrender is what this is called between the two. The surrender is to themselves first for the viability of the tribe, as seen through the values of gate 50 and as seen through the continuity of gate 32. It's really a stunning process. I have gate 44. And when 44 kicks in me, something is wicked important. Something big just took place. I don't know what it is. And suddenly I find myself in action in the moment. And it's because 44 became intimately aware that's like, dude, you're going to go extinct. Now, my awake voice knows I'm probably not going to go extinct because of whatever, but the spleen doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives us each message basically as if it were the end of the world. Now, if you live in 44's fear of extinction and fear of the tribe's viability falling apart and fear of all those things, you will lose the point. It's supposed to just pour all of these fears of spleen are supposed to do what the frequency of the spleen demands. I'm simply here in the now on a moment by moment basis. So when it comes through, if you hang on to it, that means you're literally giving it too much due. Now you're going to have to work with that yourself, but because the frequency of the spleen is moment to moment, the fear comes in and you hang on to it and you start like being afraid of everything around all the corners that could be rather than a focused, concentrated, just that one thing. You're going to run awry. You're supposed to just let it pour through just like the frequency of the spleen demands. Hey, it was that moment. Well, it's a whole moment later. Yeah, I know. I'm a lot less afraid a second later. I just thought I would say that this is a possibility. And then you'll start looking into it. And maybe you'll get afraid again. An hour later, it's like, oh my God, I found out something new. Okay, let that spleen talk. Don't live it out. Let it inform.
That's cool. Yeah, 44 is interesting. I also have this one. And I chose a little history book because it is that like fear of the past and fear of survival. And if we're going to meet and I'm meeting someone new, what do I know about you from the past?
Right.
So this keeping of history and awareness in that kind of regard.
Total fear of the past. And it would be the things of the past that were something not necessarily the best coming back to bite you, coming
Yeah.
back to wreck things. The fear of the past. Nazi Germany is it's a lot. That's a lot of 44 business in the propaganda and the information and the whatever there is, the history books. 44 wrote the history books, 50 okayed it, and 32 said, well, we're going to sell that for a profit. As it relates to, Nazi Germany in the early 40s. That would be a lot of 44 business.
Yeah, that historical awareness, historical memory, and again, that tribal, splenic health, values, survival. We're meeting somebody new. What is the history of this? How do we deal with it?
Yeah,
so that's really fun.
Constantly questioning that. One cool little thing to note, genetically in our body graph, gate 44, the codon that actually correlates to gate 44, is one of the oldest living codons on the planet. Literally, because it does come from our oldest reptilian, not mammalian, reptilian, when we were, a squid or a lizard, when there was no humanity
Yeah,
on
before humans, the common ancestor between humans
before
and
there's
and survival. Yeah, it's that ancient survival.
goes all the way back to the lizard whipping its tongue out to catch a fly. This goes back to that. So just think it's worth pointing out, meaning it's deep business. Yeah.
Yeah, it's survival. It's long-term survival, viability.
And dealing with that trickster. So it's day-to-day mundane basis, like what's it saying today? What are we going to deal with today? What's the thing for today? Because it is taking marching orders from 32.
Yeah, and so 26 is the trickster, right?
Yep. And I'm saying it's taking marching orders from 32 up to 44 through that whole, because that's the tribal stream over there of instinct. And so this is taking part of its marching orders from 32 and 50. Everyone takes its marching orders from 50, by the way. And it is going to be broadcast in some kind of surrendered way between 44 and 26 to then transmit the message. I think that term transmitter for the channel is just so valid. It's just such a great keynote. Because people with the channel, they always say something. They have something to say about it.
Yeah, because 44 wants to share, hey, survival stuff. The 26 wants to sell you something.
Yeah, and it wants to bark out stuff, and it wants to feel its ego power roar. And that's the perfect outlet for 44.
Perfect. Well, we'll be talking about 26 in the next segment. So you feel good about 44?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to mosey on over to gate 57, which is gentle, and the gate of intuitive clarity. It is part of individual circuitry, both integration and knowing, and it connects up with the sacral gate 34, identity gate 10, and throat gate 20.
57 is so busy. It connects all the integration gates. They all connect with each other. It's the only spot where that really happens. And so this gentle, how did the Chinese describe it? The way the cool breeze, gentle as it may be, can still chill you to the bone in short order, right? So a cool day, a cool breeze that gets to the very core of things. The reason they call it the gentle is because it's not a motor. Even though it points towards a motor in one of its aspects, it itself is not. It's just the awareness of tomorrow. If 44 is the past, which it is, and it's fears of the past, primordially the biggest, the extinction of the past, but mostly just the past. 57 is just about tomorrow. And so put it into its frequency. Frequency is moment to moment only, not over all of time, ever, just now. And it's in a stream of awareness that's about intuition. So this is the great gate of intuition. In fact, this is our primary survival gate. This was the first one of integration that made us survive because it knows what for. It can speak to 34. 34 says, I have power. And 57 says, yeah, this is how it's used. 10 is not aware. It's like, this is my behavior. And 57 gives meaning to that. Same thing with right now. And when 57 is connected to gate 20 right now, its big fear is tomorrow. and it can't live in that fear, because what it's really supposed to do is not just basically try and stay up all night to avoid tomorrow. It's not supposed to do anything other than recognize it's not the guarantee of, but it's the potential for extraordinary, take out, listen to the word, extraordinary intuitive clarity in the now, in an individual pulse that's yours first. And I point out certain mystical things about 57. 57 is the gate that you're looking at a flat wall and you see the paint on the wall, and that's it. Your vision stops there. 57 can see an inch or two beyond that wall, potentially through its intuition that, like the gentle breeze, penetrated the wall to its core, maybe to the other side. How'd you know that guy was there? I had a feeling. How'd you know you weren't supposed to go there? I knew it. This is, I mean, all the gates that say I knew it, this one says it loud. Um, the same thing with knowing things, or even, you can see beyond the pale a little bit. It can see it. Listen, right now is what I know. I can't really see into the future. It's not that 57 sees the future. It's 57 has the extraordinary potential to have a moment of clarity about the future, or the immediate future, or even the long-term future. Doesn't mean it's right. Again, it's in the knowing circuit. So its voice will sound like I know, but it doesn't mean that it's right. It just means that potentially it's like, dude, how'd you know that was going to happen? I don't know. I had a feeling. And I mean, talk about that spleen. That spleen gives us a hit. The sacral gives us a hit that says, it's a response, and suddenly we're in motion. The spleen's hit is quite different, isn't it? It's a splenic survival, awareness, safety, health, values hit. Like, but it's only now, and if you don't listen to it, it'll sort of scoot by and maybe come back later, but mostly it's only right now. So sometimes 57 has the extraordinary clarity to push away the dust that is clouding our right now and see into the future. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. Every once in a while, I have extraordinary clarity into the future.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean I'm right. But when it comes true, the little thing, that a nugget that I saw, boy, is that vindication.
It's interesting also because 57, the trigrams are wind over wind, and wind
Mm,
is that subtle, far-reaching influence.
that's subtle is the right word.
Yeah.
Again, it's gentle. If you think you're taking 57 to the racetrack, think again, or the blackjack table. It's not going to happen that way. That's not what this does. This just has the extraordinary potential. And the only way you get to have it and see it is to be aware that your spleen speaks moment to moment softly, and to take that quote splenic hit and start to work with yourself in a way that becomes aware of what that really is inside you. Every spleen person that wakes up knows what that splenic hit is. They start to see it. They learn to trust it.
It's like a gentle breeze.
The potential and the gift of extraordinary clarity, extraordinary intuitive clarity, intuition that has no logic. There's no logic to why that works.
And it's interesting also how important 57 must be. It's very subtle, but again, that far reaching because it's linking up with 3 different gates. Like,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
interesting.
Well, let's keynote those gates real quick. I am now, gate 20. Gate 10 is I love me right now. That's cool. And or my behavior now, and or I act out now. 34 says I empower now. And 57 says my power is used for the purpose of what I became aware of that dictates my behavior right now. So 57 is I know I am busy for myself right now. That's the full keynoting of that. 34 busy, 10 myself, 20 I. And so what for? And then 57 is I know. It very much is I know I am busy for myself right now, working for 28's purpose, by the way. 57 serves 28. 28's too stubborn to even notice 57, basically. I mean, that's you put people together, you'll find out that channel of struggle isn't noticing things the same way that channel of the brainwave is. That 5720, they're just not. So 57 then suddenly has to yield to 20 because 20 is fighting for the purpose. So 57's overall voice would be, I know I am busy for myself right now. And I know I have some duties I have to perform now for gate 28 because it won't let me alone. I'm going to have to teach it this human design system. I'm going to have to go help them dig that hole. I'm going to have to, whatever it is. So.
Perfect. We got a great comment from Chewy. The I Ching needs to stop being so scarily accurate 3,000 years later.
What's up with those people? I thought it was a 5,000. I thought the I Ching was like
I think it is
54.
like 5,000, but it's like the point remains is like
It
the I Ching is
remains.
scary
What is
accurate. 3,005 years. What's a couple thousand between friends?
Chewy? You make such a good point. The point is so perfect because what happened to those cats? They threw a key forward in time that they couldn't have known would be so profound, although I bet they intuitively had clarity that it would be one day. In fact, I bet there was folklore that only a few tribes and a few people anymore know that said, yeah, we knew one day this would turn into more than even what it was. Maybe, some wisdom of two families somewhere in the Tibetan hills that still hold the knowledge and the ancient tablet that foretold that this would take place. They should share it if they have it.
Well,
But
it's so interesting, especially in relation to gate 57, because it's like the I Ching, it's touching on an absolute truth. So it's like we have this foundation of this absolute truth just exists. And then this intuitive clarity, this awareness to be able to go, hey, that's there. It's like gravity. Like it just exists. And then someone was like, hey, this is an actual force of nature. I kind of feel it's like that, where it's like it's this foundational thing. What's really cool is that someone is able to like peer underneath the curtain to develop it into this whole system, but it speaks to the program, the absolute truth that's underlying all of it.
something is so special about mankind, generally speaking, humanity as a whole. There's something ordained inside of it. There's some special nugget that I've yet to. It's life force. It's plenty of things, but there is something very special inside of all of it because I do notice that humans keep getting downloads. Ra did not invent this information. He was given it over the course of 8 days by a force he called the voice. Now, today I would just call that download. I don't know. They would have called it an act of God back then or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they call it an act of God now even, but point being, they couldn't have known all the thing that it would do. They did not know to say the word genetic codon and that we have 54 of them constantly sewing us up in our chemistry day in and day out. They couldn't have known any of that. I do know one thing, the I Ching, and tell me if this is true, Troy, that the I Ching itself would say, these are your ways. And so the master would try and teach the student the ways, and the student would say, but master, what ways am I? And so he couldn't tell. Couldn't necessarily say, well, you're this way, this way, this way, this way. So there's no
Mm-hmm.
way they could have put all of this together. They just like, these are the 64 ways, and so you are some of these ways.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some of the teachings of the I Ching mistakenly informed people you have to be all 64 ways. You better get a command of all of it, and you're not a Shaolin priest until you have it all or something. I bet you some people did that and went crazy doing it,
Mm-hmm. Friends with Audio also commented, waiting for someone to connect the Aztec calendar to human design.
Well, dude, if you can go ahead and get this Aztec calendar to us, that would be great because I don't even know what that is. I haven't seen it yet. This is the third time someone's brought up the Aztec calendar in the last like 6 months.
Well, there'll be a future deep dive.
Yep.
Oh, and Chewy said, the Tao is the way and the way is the Tao.
Oh, that's sweet.
I totally read the Tao of Pooh a few years ago. It was like a Winnie the Pooh telling of the Tao.
No way.
Oh yeah, it was super cute. I got it in like a little gift thing, and I was like, well, great. This is a delightful little way to get through the Tao.
Through the Tao of the moment.
Absolutely. So you feel good on 57?
Yep.
So now finally we have gate 48, which is the well and the gate of depth, which is part of collective logical circuitry hooking up to throat gate 16.
Okay, so if 18 is looking for what has been spoiled, as it finds them, it drips that awareness. Remember, awareness center, and that awareness drips into the well. So if you have a watertight container and you start dripping a drip in it, sooner or later the container fills up. That's what 48 is doing. This, well, it's almost like a cauldron, but it's all collective logical. It's trying to go to the throat. It's trying to get enthusiastic about the depth it's got. But that word depth, it almost doesn't, I mean, just by itself doesn't do it service enough because it's extraordinary depth. 48 ultimately will be the solution-oriented solution maker of almost all things from a great depth of a huge well of knowledge and experience and events it had the good taste and good fortune to bring in the first place. Why this gate is on the cross of tension, I don't know, other than it's wicked tense the rest of the time because it has wants. Gate, I mean, yeah, 48, all the gates of the spleen want something, and they tell us they want something. And so we end up writing books and talking about it and breaking up and getting married and all these things because of these wants. You know, it's good to know them. 48 is just there to be a great well of service. It's supposed to finish the service started in 58.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
With the thing you said about the cross of tension with gate 48, I would imagine because like the fear is not having the depth. The fear
Yes,
is being the fool.
inadequacy is the name of the fear. It's fear is that of inadequacy, and that inadequacy is just to let you know you might need a little more depth. And the folly of not self trying to be spontaneous in the moment because maybe it's in an open center and it just wants to be spontaneous when no, the spleen is spontaneous. That's its frequency, spontaneously right now only. And 48 then wants to be on spontaneous, but let's say it's in an open center. It needs to govern and recognize when it doesn't have the depth. So if you have a gate 48, don't let people go for the deep button with you and try and make you be deep when you're not ready for it. If it's right for you, you'll go way deep. And out of that depth will come the most crazy solutions that are so profoundly cool that a whole genetic process in gate 16 will pick up and get enthusiastic about that and start manifesting it and speaking it out loud and putting it into the world and trying to share all of that. 48 wants to be so happy it's fueled by 58, right? From at the beginning of this process. That's the fuel moving up through the process. And it wants to not be, only corrective as it relates to stuff that has gone wrong. It wants to see that there's stuff that it has a solution that makes it keep going right. 18 looks for what went wrong, what has been spoiled, what might need some correction and some judgment. And 48 is not in the judgment game. That's 18's job. 48 is simply supposed to be in the excited to find the solutions game. And the thing is, when 48's depth comes out, anyone else who doesn't want that shared with them, that will create tension because this depth isn't meant to stay silent. So it perfectly fits in the cross of tension. 48 will bring tension to the arena, to the realm, um, if it's acting out its not self. And it will bring tension when it's acting out its true self. It does it both times because the rest of the people aren't necessarily ready for 48's the depth of its solutions.
Well, projected
Yep.
channel. And the well wants to be drawn from.
It wants, please drink from my well. That's the only way it can share.
Mm-hmm.
It
And
can
it has to be
share.
invited. Like someone has to come
Yes.
to the well to like put down the rope and like want it. And so that 48 that wants to share when it's no one's drawing from the well, of course it's bitter.
Yeah. Think of how much that can literally get stuck inside, even right down to the bone marrow. Chances are 48 plays a great part in exactly why it takes us all 7 years to decondition I wouldn't put it there at 44, 32, 28, maybe 18, 48. I would give most of that heavy lifting to as it relates to the center.
Because of depth.
That depth, it's a desperate place. It wants to be drunk from. It wants you. It's like a right facing arrows, except the right arrow people don't quite know that. 48 does know it.
That makes sense. Yeah, 48, the 4816 is also the channel of talent. So that 48
Totally.
wants to go over it and over it and over it and over it and master it to then send it out to the throat in that enthusiastic expression.
Everything about this whole stream from 58 through 18, 48 to 16, it wants to identify with something and gain some kind of mastery over various systems. Let the mastery of systems be the joy that gets looked into, corrected, and then enthusiastically broadcast and shared into fruition.
It's fun. Sasha just wrote, LOL, oh gosh, this 48 description also resonates.
Uh-oh. Oopsie. Not my fault. It's not our fault.
Just the messenger.
We're just the messenger. Wonder if Sasha's new to HD.
Well, let's see, Sasha, if you have a minute away from the kids to write another response, if you're new or how long you've been into human design. Sasha's been commenting, so we've been going back and forth.
That's so sweet. Well, thank you, Sasha, so much. So
Sasha wrote, I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel where I do video essays. I think it's the best way I can get my ideas out. Absolutely go for it. It's really, really fun.
And then we can collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really fun, been really neat learning how to do things on YouTube and make presentations. And it's ultimately like, I want to learn more about this, so I'm going to make a presentation and Danny's going to respond to it. So I'd love to see your video essays.
Health and values, the spleen. Let's tie it all up.
Yeah, let's tie it all together.
Right, that's what comes next, right?
Yeah, that's the tie-up. So this is going to be the tie-up, but this one's going to be a little different because the last one we did, it was all 3 root to spleen gates, where this one's got a little bit, a lot more bit going on, because what we have 2 gates that go to the sacral, 1 that goes to the will, 2 that go to the throat, and 1 that goes to the identity. So
everything up top here, you can literally tie up in, this is the manifestation of our survival. It all does the work and literally walks on out of here into some kind of either ego or throat-oriented manifestation. That's how I view the whole top of this. It turns into the capacity for us to transmit the right message, intuitively know that we're going to be safe tomorrow, and draw from a great depth that shares all kinds of wisdom and solutions, all lit up by gate 50, that says it's for these values. So that speaks directly to our, everything below was like getting it going, and everything 50 and above it is gone. It is now. It went. We'd already the train has left the station with these top channels. They now make manifestation of themselves. They don't have to be a manifesting channel because the throat is the center of manifestation. And 48, 57 ultimately get to the throat, and 44 goes to what will be the throat soon enough, because all ego things lead to the throat anyways.
yeah, all roads lead to Rome.
Yep.
That's really neat. Any other tie-ups for these 4 before we do the full splenic tie-up? No, nope. Sacral says no.
Sacral says, well, because I want to do the whole thing.
Cool. All right, go.
Really? Can we? Oh, do we have a slide that has all the gates lit up? Probably not, right?
I didn't think of doing that, but now it seems like a good idea.
Well, right. So I'm going to do it through the lens of gate 50. Gate 50 is a source wave that fires up our capacity to survive as ourselves. 57 says, I survive as myself. 28 says, I must survive as myself. 32 says, we're going to aid and abet that survival as yourself inside a tribe in a conservative nature. And you're going to fit in, boy. And 44 doesn't use the language of boy. It just says we're riding a wave. and where the past is coming at us, so let's make sure we keep it right. 32 got it right. 18 says, hey, this wasn't working. 48 says, I have a solution for all of that. So in service of the values of the tribe, we want our solutions. You better fix this stuff, but don't get too judgmental, and take yourself right now and use that intuition that struggles for a purpose to give us the values that will survive through the continuity of 32 and 44's projection into the future. Its fear of the past wants to project a healthy future for the tribe, and it will enlist the ego gate of 26 and the whole of the ego itself to march off to war if it has to, for the sake of the tribe. So all of these things, when you add it all up, it's all happening in the right now. That's the thing. So it's so easy for the brain to physically feel a right now hit and then start thinking about it all day long. Don't you dare. You could have a lot of gates in the spleen, and maybe so you're a little bit, if you got a lot of gates in the spleen, you're a little like a cat in a hot tin roof sometimes. It could be this, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, could be this, could be that. When all you really care about is the right values, the right tribe, the right solutions, pointing to tomorrow with a purpose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone got all of that? You got to
Hey,
rewind.
get all that? You can play it back.
I almost wanted to ask you to slow down while you're talking, and I was like, no, I'll ruin his flow.
Yeah, that's true. Guys, I'm sorry, I can't slow down.
He's a
You just
manifesting
have to,
generator. He
yeah,
skipped the step of slowing down.
you just have to listen to it again. Every once in a while I do a little bit, but you just have to listen over or put it on 75 speed or something.
Yeah, it all comes out. Yeah, it's really interesting though. I mean, it's health and values. It's ongoing survival in that ancient lizard way, as you put it. So it's ongoing survival. It's existential awareness to threats and timing and history and values and laws and depth. And I mean, it really spans the gamut of something from the gentle, the gate 57, wind over wind, intuitive clarity, where it's like, ooh, like really
Yep.
light, to like laws and values and hardcore, and like 28, gate of the great gameplay. You're here to, know what's worth fighting for. I feel like there's such a vast range of expression within these 7 gates under this unifying theme of health, survival, wellness, in individual, tribal, and collective. It really spans that gamut.
It fans out. The spleen fans out into all these different things, from collective all the way to the tribe and the individual, into integration and into whatchamacallit there, the defense circuit. So I would say the spleen technically touches every bit of circuitry except the emotional, I guess. It's the only thing it doesn't quite touch,
Yeah,
which is probably good.
yeah, that would almost be,
Counterproductive.
yeah. I mean, there's a reason they're on either ends of the body graph chart, because they're
Absolutely.
mirrors to each other, but they're not in direct communication. The spleen and the solar
Yep.
plexus aren't meant to directly communicate to one another, which is something I've never really thought of before.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So that's tying it all up. I mean, that's what this thing is doing through the voice of the source wave of the values. It's what gives the rest of the meaning to the depth and the correction and the rest of it.
Super cool. You feel good?
I feel good.
Any other final get it in splenic thoughts?
No, it's just other than most people should be able to identify with almost all of this stuff, because it is our oldest living awareness. And if you have an open spleen, just remember, don't hold on to things that aren't good for you, because that's what it'll do. And if you have a defined spleen, just remember, just because you have your sudden hit doesn't mean it's right for everyone else. So you have to end up being sensitive, right, about various things, and learn how to speak to people that do slow down a little bit, in the moment, so people can understand, because the spleen knows in the now what the other couldn't possibly understand yet until you tell them.
Nice. Yeah, undefined spleens, take care of yourselves. Don't get caught up in other people's good feeling spleens, because it'll bite us in the butt. So make sure you take extra good care of yourself. And then we
Right.
also have a comment from Friends with Audio, undefined spleen, hanging 44 and 48. I feel like I project fear very easily as casual conversation, not intending to.
Yeah, that's the thing, because what happens in conversation, this is a great thing to point out. Conversation happens right now. It can't happen later because the words have died into there's no sound later, right? It can't happen before. It can only happen in the right now where the spleen lives. So you have hanging gates in your spleen, you're constantly trying to survive a conversation. So as you decondition and as we bring you into the fold and read for you more, or however that works, and do some more coaching, however, whatever it is we're going to do, you'll start to see that as you decondition according to, according to your strategy and authority, you start to see that ultimately, you start to see that those fears don't get lived out. And that surviving the conversation becomes, I don't have to, I got nothing to prove with any of that. I've got nothing to fear here. That's not my fear. It's not. It can't be, because I'm sitting here in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, that kind of awareness of, is this like a legitimate fear or not? Like, it's so easy to get like anxieties or the little like flutters or this or that. And our whole system can get really go haywire on that. But it's like, as long as there's not like a bear behind you, if we can pause and take that moment away from like, oh, I'm not actually afraid. Also, trick, if you're like socially anxious or you're feeling weird in a group or you're starting to like get really self-conscious, the trick to deal with that is to reframe your focus on making other people comfortable. Because if we focus on ourselves, there's no difference between thinking about ourselves and literally being miserable. We make ourselves miserable by thinking about ourselves. And if we reframe our focus onto, is this other person comfortable? Then you literally pull your attention away from that self-consciousness, and now you're the fun, gregarious one who's making other people comfortable.
Right. I like that little tactic. I like that technique.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do with yourself is to scrunch your toes, or make a some kind of a muscle movement, something that recognizes, right now I am attached to this earth. Something
Mm.
that attaches you to the earth
Oh,
and
yeah, that's interesting.
grounds you.
And that's even, again, that is in a way another way of putting your attention out, like, oh, into the earth. Like, I'm standing on something. So if you're thinking about that, something that you're standing on.
Right. Which is right now, and it's much more healthy for you, because no matter where you go, there you are. And that's what spleen knows. I feel pretty good about all that.
Fantastic. All right, super cool. Well, thank you for everyone for hanging out and commenting and engaging, because that's really cool, and liking and subscribing and doing all the good stuff. And now we're going to get into part 2, which is the will gates in human design.
I can't wait, because these will gates, I know we talked a bit about it through the spleen as we were doing that last section. But the will stands alone. It gets its own circuitry. It has its own access to the voice, unlike the other circuitries, and it's got a very particular way of doing it. And it's worth pointing out that the will and the sacral, they're all packed in about the same place, but the will never touches directly the sacral. These are two fiery motors. These are both fire, more so than the other two motors that can be fire, but these ones are just fire by nature, and they're not, those twains are not meant to touch at this time. Maybe 400 or 500 years from now, we might evolve and it will, but it's not here in us right now. It's worth pointing that out.
I feel like I remember some raw audio somewhere where he talked about that the will and the sacral do not directly connect, because then people would never die.
Basically, life would go on for an awful long time, potentially, because the ego willpower that then keeps the body safe through the spleen would be generatively empowered. Everything would be generatively empowered at that point. And yeah, the heart would never stop beating. The heart center wouldn't stop beating. I mean, I don't know if it's infinity wouldn't stop beating, but
It would last a whole lot longer.
a whole lot longer. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for hanging out, and let's get into it.
Yep.
So, the will, the ego, the heart center. And this is about willpower and the material world. This is about resources. So we'll start off with gate 40, which is deliverance, and the gate of aloneness, which is part of tribal ego circuitry that hooks up to solar plexus gate 37.
What is the language below the name of Gate 40? Deliverance, the point of convergence
The point of
between
transition,
but right, the point of transition between
struggle and liberation.
struggle and liberation. I knew it was something in liberation.
I made sure to have my book all handy dandy.
Thank you for that. Yeah. But if that converging in this point you come to where suddenly you've been liberated into rest. And the thing is, gate 40 is watching for that point, and it's moving that point. That point is supposed to move. The older the ego gets in their life, the more they're supposed to move it towards more rest. I've earned it, basically. Not that they want to, because they'll be busy doing something else. It's just more rest from actual work and stuff like that. But gate 40 is so tribal. To me, it's almost the most tribal of all. It doesn't come with an agenda. 21 wants to control everyone. 51 wants to get the heck out, maybe. 26 just wants to be, look at me, and 44 is more humble. 44 builds the temples. 40, I mean. Sorry, thank you.
I just want to catch it so we don't confuse anybody.
Always.
Gate 40.
Gate 40 builds the temple. It wants to build the temples. And it only wants one thing. Well, it wants several things. It wants to do the work. It feels good about doing the work. It wants to pat itself on the back after having done a bunch of work. It really does. And it wants to come home to a solar plex gate 37 that appreciates it and feeds its hungry belly. 44 would be basically almost like the gate of the stomach in a way. It's where the furnace that allows the calories to generate the work of a day that someone will go out and do and bring home, that they will do. And it's doing it all for affection. Its primary currency of gate 40 is affection. I mean, sincere affection, that the type of affection that can't be mistaken for anything that, yes, I do love you. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not hot love. It's one of the love gates. Gate 40 is one of the official love gates. And it's a love of being the mule that will do the work for the 37. And it's looking for that friendliness that will do it, because gate 37 is about friendship. But it's tribal friendship that's sensitive to the needs of things and sensitive to the needs to support things and to be supportive. And it's part of a channel that will give bargains or not, right? The bargain is drawn through this channel of community 4037. So if the bargain isn't right, 47 doesn't reach its deliverance. And what does it do? The opposite of being delivered is, I'm going to go be alone. You can't have me. I won't do the work, and I won't finish the temple. And so 37 is mystically wanting to have a good friend in God. That's why it needs a temple. And 40 is saying, I want to give that to you. I'll do it. I'll be your mule. I like, that's part of my love language. Let me go to work. I don't mind one bit. Let me go to work. And if the bargain isn't right and you don't appreciate me and I don't feel affection coming from you, which is my primary currency, I don't care how much money there is in it. They will never be happy. They will not be delivered, is the thing. And they won't reach that point of transition. They won't reach, and they'll see that I'm not reaching that point. The transition is the moment. The liberation is the reward. But the transition is the moment we're all looking for. The kids in the car, are we there yet? Are we there yet? That's what this is constantly looking at. It's like, I'm doing this work. Oh, I love doing this work, but are we there yet? Are we there yet? We're going to be there soon. Good. All right. I'll get back to work. I'll be there right on the nose for my liberation. You don't get one extra minute out of me unless the deal is going real well. The bargain in here.
Yeah. And the beauty of the high expression of the tribal bargain, right? Because we're not talking about like corruption. We're not talking about somebody taking advantage of someone. In the high expression of the 4037, it's like the 40 is like, I got work for you. And the 37 is like, I got food and love, and I'm going to take care of you and have your slippers ready when you get home. And we're both going to share something that makes us better and stronger and happier in the whole. Like a good bargain is going to be beneficial for both parties. That's the beauty of a good bargain and a good deal, a good negotiation. It's not taking advantage of somebody, it's not abusing somebody. It's, I have this, you have this. If we put it together, we'll both end up with more. Let's make a deal.
Let's very much make a deal, and let's make a good deal. And where did that deal come from? It came from the marriage contract in 1949. Through all those principles and the approaching with the resources. What is the deal they're making? It has something to do with resources and the resources of the tribe and the affection and the deliverance. Think about this. Our bodies contain the genetic information required to have affection, pay for the work for the sake of the family and the community, and driving the help of the where the children will go to school and eat and come to the dinner table. And everything happens at the dinner table for this channel. You know, it's very dinner table oriented. I'm surprised I got away with what I got away with when I was growing up, but it is very, I was alone. I wanted to, that's calm is my eating environment,
Mm-hmm.
determination. So I was constantly removing myself. I'm surprised they let me do that, but they delivered and they were affectionate. And 37 was in my family a lot. It's probably in most families because it is a common
Yeah, because
definition.
they're opposition. They show up. Oh, yeah, that's the funny thing I was going to mention. The 40-37, they're opposition. So the sun and earth, like they're 180 degrees from each other. So they'll be lit up at the same time and be very frequent. But what's funny is that the 40-37 is lit up during Labor Day.
Yes, to do the work. That's so true. And that's so appropriate for that because it really is getting this done that way and trying to, again, it's a love of work and it's not slave work. It's when the tribe wanted the temple built because of such a deep tribal belief in their God at that time, or God at that time, however that worked, it was a joy every day. And so that means those people were doing good time on planet Earth, and their consciousness could only go up. You know what I mean? They could only raise the awareness of what they knew in their surroundings and what they would do with their total environment that's around them and how they would steward the lands. This is the great gate and channel of the work should steward the land. Somewhere along the way, don't go polluting it, wrecking it, scarring it, and fencing it up if you can help it. Although 40 will do all of that work too. Don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
the awake version of this whole channel and this little binary system, looks like it's just a binary star system, is 40 and 37 because it's the spleen. I mean, it's the ego and the solar plex. So two great motors that go great together. I mean, those things, right? They inform each other
Yeah.
a great deal.
And there's so much power there of like when the will is into it and it could rally and the solar plexus has like found its clarity over time. Like that's very powerful. It makes sense. It's like it's the tribe coming together to build something for the sake of the tribe. I'm thinking like Amish barn raising type of
That's
situation.
4037 business. Yep. And for the sake of it all, and the last thing I'll just say about 40 is begs, make it good for me because I want to do all this stuff, but do make it good and friendly and tribal feeling and fair. Make it feel like we're advancing and moving up somewhere along the lines that's making it better for our children. This is the great channel of legacy for the children. Right here, this is legacy. You're looking at it. All that splenic stuff might go about the business of creating a will and legacy, but this is the living embodiment of it. What for? You know,
And the feeling that connects into
feeling. Please let it feel good. Make me feel good. That's what 40 is doing because it doesn't know what necessarily to feel good about until it's informed by the emotional clarity of 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 37. And by the way, if you have emotional definition, that is your authority. Doesn't matter what your type or what else you got. You know, a trick question I would ask people, if I was training them, not so much a trick question. I said, if every channel on the body graph is lit up, what do you got? And it's an
Oh, an
emotional
emotional manifesting generator.
generator, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many spleen gates you got and how many projected channels, because the way authorities work, you're an emotional manifesting generator, period. Just proving this world is emotional work generated business. And that partially includes this ego and this gate 40. So make me feel good. Please tell me, my love, my liege, guide me to the right feeling that does feel good. My strategy and authority get me there, but if I had your affection, that would just be the icing on it all. It's a great want that comes in here. It's a need. Make it feel good is part of the need of humanity. Doesn't mean we don't follow our strategy and authority and bounce out of the thing if it's not working, even if it did feel good sometimes. That's different. But part of 40 is just yakking out into the world, but make it feel good. Or
Perfect.
I will go silent and you won't have me, and I will be the nihilist that you can't even break through to, and I have the ego willpower to do it, and I will shut you down. So a lot of power there.
Wolf.
Yep.
So
Feel good about 40.
gate 40 will work for food and affection.
Yep, will work for food and affection. Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So next up, we have gate 26, which is the taming power of the great and the gate of the egoist. It's part of tribal ego circuitry connecting to spleen gate 44.
Now, we talked a bit about this when we talked about the 44 a moment ago, but 26 is just the roaring power of what the ego is really exemplifies. I always tell people, if you got someone in your life with a defined ego, let them roar. That's what egos do. When they're in their stride and their swing, that's what a good ego will do. It wants to feel its ego willpower burst onto the plane, and it's part of the gate of the trickster. Um, this this gate 26 is there to be a little bit tricky with the information it gets. It's there to manipulate the tribal memory and memory generally just a little bit, because you can't just give a cold splenic message to thing right now. You got to finesse it a little bit. Sometimes the message needs a little bit of delivering. We're doing that right now, Moni.
You need a little razzle dazzle.
Need a little razzle dazzle here. I'm not sitting here saying gate 26 is the egoist and it wants to roar. I got to add inflection. That's manipulating, by the way. As soon as you strike out with a tone of voice, you are now manipulating in your own way what you're saying, which you're supposed to do, for God's sakes, or else everyone would be dry, dull, boring, and we wouldn't get anywhere. The tantric channels wrote the Kama Sutra, and 26 said, oh, let's get together and do that Kama Sutra tonight. And have that going. And 40 is like, well, I did enough work, so I do deserve it. Well, that sounds good, but 26 trying to make it sound sexy so that everyone will show up. And by the way, pay a door entrance fee while they're at it, potentially. So that's 26. This egoist that wants to help transmit a message that will ultimately be good for the tribe, and it wants to be the best. It wants to be first. I know 51 is designed to be first in a way, but that's an individual thing. It happens in a pulse. It's not like they try. They just want it as soon as they're in the thing. They want to be first with themselves. 26 wants to compete, be first amongst everyone else too.
And the intertribal connection there.
Intertribal, interworld, interspecies, all of it. And interfamilial too. Yeah, my brother's good, but I still beat his butt with that. They love that. They love to roll their sleeves up. They have a love of work too, but work that's like got this special reward that like they get to win and kill it and see, look what I did. Now that transmission is important. We need that. The ego is here to bring fire into the tribe and let it burn with the burning heart of the supportiveness and the loyalty and the affection of tribe. You mess with a tribe member and the whole well-working tribe will show the Amish. You know what I mean? It's like they all show up, right? No exceptions. They all show up.
Hmm.
It's like, dude, it's wicked important. They'll ring that bell or however that their system works, and they will get on their horse and buggy, and even if it takes 40 minutes, they will be at Mr. Melanson's farm because the bell rang. Period. And
Hmm.
26 will rile up them forces and get them there to deliver the message. It's not, hey, the bell rang, we got to get to Mr. Melanson's farm. It's like, dude, put that down. You can water that later, and we got to get to the farm.
Hmm.
So they're gonna. It's a certain bluster to the voice that comes out of 26, and so for that, some people call that tricky. It's like we didn't need to get to that farm so fast. He was doing fine, and there were already people there digging the well. But I'm glad I showed up to help. But I could have still finished my cup of coffee or whatever. But the ego tricked them and said, "No, we're going now," and
Hmm.
gave a certain type of emphasis that makes it like happen that way.
Yeah, the 26 has that like
Transmission.
salesman aspect to it.
Yeah, it's salesman aspect to transmit a message that needs to be transmitted ultimately. And then sometimes it gets a little tricky with all of that.
It's
And it
like
has to.
transmitting a message to rally, because the will center has this ability to rally. It's like, okay, you
Yep.
need me, no one else can do it. All right, fine. Like, I'll put my shoes on.
Yep.
And so it's with gate 26, it's like transmitting that message that needs to be transmitted to rally the tribe.
And to put forth onto the plane the beating heart of that tribal support and loyalty and sensitivity and food making and baby protecting, all of it, and values and law. That's all of that is basically will get transmitted sooner or later.
Hmm. And the 26 runs hot to the 44 running cold.
That's a good way to put that because that is absolutely true. The 44 is always trying to cool down the 26.
Hmm.
Part of why they must surrender to each other. You ever take a nice warm bath and it feels real good? It's just right? It's just the right temperature. You didn't get that way with the hot water spigot on all the way, and you didn't get it that way with the cold water spigot. You had to mix them
That perfect balance.
to get that
Just
perfect
short of
balance.
scalding.
Yep. So everyone has their perfect temperature. But to get it right, you have to mix the hot and the cold.
Mm.
And that's the the perfectly drawn bath is the perfect analogy of how these two surrendered to each other. Because think about it, fire is burning the water to make it hot downstairs in the boiler, and the cold water is just cold off the street, so it's like cold because it's been underground and it's always that way. So those are two different things, and they must surrender each other to create perfection, and the perfection is the transmission.
That was cool.
Yeah, I like it.
All
That's
right.
feel pretty good.
Feel good. No other major thoughts on gate 26?
Let them bluster, dude, and let them do their thing. They're supposed to do it. And if your 26 in your life is too much so, they might not be the right 26 for you.
Perfect. So
Right.
next up, we have Will Gate 21, which is biting through in the gate of the hunter or the huntress. It's part of tribal ego circuitry connecting to throat gate 45.
21's got such an incredible job. The opposition of 21, I believe, it's 48. 48, 21 are the opposition to one another. So this is the cross of tension as well. This gate is generally doesn't sit there and live out a life of tension, but it can, because it's got to be in control of its surroundings. There has to be a modicum of control it exerts on its house, the colors of the house, what the children are wearing, the food they eat, the things they will produce as a family, and the look they're going to have to the outside world, and the contributions they're going to make in the outside world. That all is under the purview of 21. Now think of and its control. 21 starts the Gestapo, and the police. Not that I want to bring that up that way, but that's 21 business. You might as well put squad car 21 on there instead of police on the cars that go by. It would make just as much sense to me. Oh, here come the 21s. Run, or whatever
Controlling
it was.
things.
Yeah, right. It's like, were you speeding? No, I was just okay. No, that's good. That 21 will drive right by. Don't you worry. You know,
Mhm.
that type of thing. The hunter and the huntress are these names that need to be there because the act of biting through whatever resistance might be in the way. And I think let me see if I remember it. I'll remember the essence of the line right below the name before you read it. It's the justified and necessary use of whatever ego will force is going to come out to dissuade the deliberate and persistent interference of things and especially others. So I added too many words on there, but that's what it is.
You're pretty close. It's gate 21 is the justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. So
Interference. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
you're right on. You're right there.
Yeah. And it's power. It releases. I mean, I dated a person at one point a number of years ago. They had gate 21 in the first and second line, and both of them basically are pointing to might is right and the justified use of powers is the true self. And when you just sort of give in a little bit and not throw that power out into the world, that's your not self of it. So 21 is designed to have a booming voice that asserts authority, and that's what bites through. And the reason of the hunter and the huntress is because it's just an analogy from it wasn't all that long ago. We had to hunt to eat stuff. I mean, we've got a couple hundred years, barely, not even a couple hundred years. We've got barely 100 years now where we could
Yeah.
only ever go to a refrigerator and no one even knew what it was like to hunt.
I mean,
You
even
know,
less if you're talking about refrigeration. That's only less than
you're right. So let's give
100.
it like 70 to 80 to 100 years type thing. Not long,
Yeah.
not long at all. So for the other 75,000 years or however long you want to go back, when the larynx dropped and we could articulate better, that was 80 or 90,
80,000.
something like that. Yeah. So from then till now, we had to hunt. And what happens when you go on a hunt? People die, or the village won't eat. So, who's in control of that hunting party mattered. Gate 21 would bite through any resistance inside that hunting party, up to the point of, when we get back, we're going to put you on trial and you might hang for what you did at this hunting party. It's a big deal.
Mhm.
So, up to and including choices of life and death that it would have absolute rule and command over in that hunting party to make sure it does what the tribe does. The tribe is there to support its loyal members and bring them back home alive. Now, all the gates of the ego want to do that in some way, shape, or form, but 40 is like, hey, I'm busy working in the first place. And 26 and 21 will totally go together. 26 will beat the war drum, and 21 will say there is a war drum, you know, and it's there. And 51 is like, I'm going to bounce out of here because I don't want to hear no war drum. And 40 is like, I'm working in the field. I'll feed you when you get back. Um, but 21, that fighting through is a necessary component to the tribe. So that support isn't free. The sensitivity and the affection is not free. You don't get it for free. I mean, if you're a baby up to about the age of 5 or 6, okay, you get it for free. After that, it starts to have a cost, a tribal cost.
Mhm.
So people always say, always honor your strategy and authority. Yeah, mostly. Because when you're in the tribe, my strategy said, I don't want to. But sometimes the tribe says, I don't care. And so
Mhm.
you got to pick your sacral self up if that's what's going on. You had a sacral hit that said, or whatever it is, or you're bitter about it, or you don't feel like doing it, or even if you're a manifestor and you want to say no, most manifestors have some kind of ego. I shouldn't say most, but it seems common, manifestors having an ego. But regardless, it doesn't matter strategy and authority in this one extent, because sometimes the tribe mandates we need your support. And so it didn't matter if you didn't feel like doing it. You're going to get up and do it. And you know what? You're not even going to mind because you're going to get, even if you don't have a defined ego, you're still going to get that momentary ego good feeling.
Mhm.
The ego people will carry it for days and have it as a robust part of their psyche and their whole way. But we'll still live that moment out with them before we leave their aura. And it feels good. It doesn't feel bad. It feels great. I love that ego high for the minute or two I get to experience it before I leave the aura.
Mhm.
It does feel really good. And even if I didn't feel like doing it, I end up saying the same thing the ego people say. Well, I didn't really feel like doing it, but you know what? I feel really good about this accomplishment.
Hmm.
Suddenly, I don't think I wasted my day anymore because the ego and usually the solar plex connected to it brought the sensitivity and the affection and the love and the loyalty and the feeling of being supported through all of it. So, of course, I was there. 21 will demand that. So it's 21 is not about the spiritual, like it can be very spiritual, don't get me wrong. It will paint the right colors on you during ceremony and all that good stuff. But don't give it a whole dissertation of, oh, everyone to their own kind. It's got to, love and peace on earth will mean that everyone is only their own way, and that's how we want to foster. No, you go be your own way. About 2 hours from now, right now, you are shoveling crap out of this barn whether you like it or not, because that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
And I did it yesterday, and it's got to get done here.
Yeah.
But I don't
Sometimes.
wanna. Yeah, I see that. Do you want my voice to boom at you? Because you're giving me deliberate and persistent interference right now, and that's what 21 quells. It just quells it naturally. There was a point in time where the gal that I was dating, I just I essentially wouldn't dare cross her mostly until Sacral said in some profound way. And
Hmm.
then it was a fight. And that's what led to I remember our breakup came when I finally said to her, listen, I love you, but I totally love me more. And we were broke up within a month. I loved it. But all the time that 21 made me do stuff, guess and she had the 40, 37. Now I think of it. That affection paid me over and over again, now that I think of it. And as much as I didn't want to do this stupid thing, I felt good after I did the thing 9 times out of 10. It started to wear out after a while, and it became 8 times out of 10 and 2 times out of 10 and no times out of 10, and that's when we finally broke up. But the point being, it was not these were not wastes of time. 21 will tell you what to do. Sometimes you better listen.
Yeah, because sometimes in the tribe you have to do things you don't want to do for the sake of being in the tribe, and you'll get the other benefits of being in the tribe. Like you'll get that affection or protection or food or resources or whatever it might be. But yeah, sometimes you gotta, shovel out the
Tribe
barn.
comes first. We live in tribes. We
Mhm.
don't live alone, and we don't live in the collective. We live in tribes. Community is a tribe. A family is a tribe.
Mhm.
Little tribe, big tribe, medium tribe. Yep.
Extended family, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go to the wedding or the christening or
Right.
something that you
Stupid
don't want to go
wedding.
to. You have to go to the holiday thing. You have to see the family they don't
Stupid
like and that weird
junk.
uncle. It
Right.
just, yeah, you have a place in the tribe, but know your place in the tribe, and the 21 will tell you what to do.
Yeah, and it will, and the whole tribal functioning will fit you into a place. You will fit yourself into a place inside the tribe, and so get used to that place because there will be a place until you move on to the next gate and bounce on out of there,
Hmm. Yeah,
which
and that
happens.
21, the last thing I wanted to touch on is the 21 as like the resource manager of the tribe, because
Totally.
the 21 is going to go to the 45, and that 2145 is the king. It's the monarch kind of energy. And so the 21 is kind of managing what resources do we have for the 45 to then be able to hand it out.
And broadcast and teach the rest of the tribe how important it was that we had this stuff in the first place. 21 doesn't have the voice to teach it. 45 does, and
Mm.
express it and deliver that education to the tribe so that they know. I mean, 45 says, I canvas. That's its first line. And 21 says, yeah, well, I bite through and make sure you have the resources so that what you canvas is not a lie. And 26 says, well, I'll sell that. And 40 is like, well, I'll get to work making it. This is the widget factory, the tribal widget factory.
Hmm.
These 3 gates, you put them together.
Yeah, it's resource manufacturing and engagement.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, we have some fun comments here, so I've been waiting to post them.
Oh,
So
God, pull them up.
I know it's fun. So Chewy said, referring to manifestors, I believe, because it says we're only 20% of the population. Of course, manifestors have an ego, but manifestors are 10% and projectors are
They're 10%.
20%.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to roll with we're only 10% of the population. Of course, manifestors have an ego. I'm going to guess is what we're rolling with.
Manifestors have, well, I just noticed when I look up, if I take all the manifestors I have, it seems like more than half of them have an ego, even though the ego is only 35% of humanity.
Hmm.
It
Yeah, there's
just
a lot
seems
of
to be
them.
my experience.
Absolutely. And then Friends with Audio wrote, a lot of projectors must have died of hunger before refrigerators.
No, they found a way.
Yeah, other people took care of us and we helped them with our guidance.
They found a way. They
Absolutely. And
penetrated
then
the
Chewy
mold.
also wrote, LOL, yeah, my partner has the Huntress gate. We definitely fight for the pants in the relationship with Gate 21.
Give it to her. Is this a guy? Is Chewy a guy?
Yeah, it looks like Chewy's a guy, and it's a guy name, and it looks like a guy picture. So I'm gonna run with guy. He also wrote, "Yes, get someone with a 21 gate, a journal, and a planner, and watch him go,
Yep.
controlling things."
Yep. 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 Absolutely. So that's funny. So Chewy, just a bit of advice on that I would just like to say out loud is, you keep that same planner too, because just because 2121 doesn't make it right. We live in a world, doesn't mean it's correct. We live in a world where there's so much variety. It's not, we don't have the same, 8 things you got to do every single day like we had 100 years ago. Got to do those 8 things. Right now, there's so much more and everything. So 21's needs is a little different than it used to be. So you do have to stand your ground where your strategy and authority actually kick in enough and start to tell you what to do. Just be sensitive to always, with your 21, be willing to relent a little more so than any other gate in the body graph. Just to tap your toe in the pool of relenting into the 21's demands or whatever the 21's sort of looking at and doing the thing, just because they need that. So be sensitive, being sensitive to that need is handy. And if it happens on the fourth and fifth and eighth time, finally you put your foot down in some way, shape, or form. So that's how I would suggest all of that.
Perfect. All right, you feel good about 21? Any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right. So finally, we are going to talk about gate 51, which is the arousing and the gate of shock, which is part of individual centering circuitry and connects to identity, gate 25.
Mm. So I have gate 25. Moni, you have this whole channel.
I got the whole thing.
I love gate 51s. They always make me do crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
51 sees its share of blood. 51 starts the heartbeat of the blood in the body. 51 gives the power that then arouses the innocence, which is 25, the innocence of all things. If you have gate 25 in your body graph, it doesn't matter what the line is, you're innocent. And it doesn't mean you're innocent of the crime if you went and committed a crime. It just means you have the extraordinary potential to literally act innocently. 51 knows that. That's where its leap goes to. Because if the individual pulse to want to leap into the void, to want to do something, to have a thing that doesn't want the excitement to go away yet, or was looking for a new thing that feels like it might light it up in an exciting, ego fiery kind of way, it's looking for all of that stuff in an individual capacity, which happens in a pulse. And by very definition, the pulse itself is innocent. So 51 has this weird place. It is in the ego. It is not the tribe. It is part of a tribe almost always because everyone is one way, shape, or form. But its leap is into innocence. And because the will wants to leap and arouse the stagnant and churn up the things, it's like, guys, let's get this party going. Something's going to happen here, And Evil Knievel is a 51. I don't know if it's actually 51, but I mean, he jumped over the Snake Canyon
The
in a freaking
energy of,
homemade rocket ship. It's like, dude, I saw it live. The parachute had to go, or he would have killed himself. He finally had a brain and took a parachute, unlike all his other jumps. But he couldn't help it, and he was. I was going to presume he had a gate 51 or was married to one or something of that nature, and it just or the channel, and it wants to basically tell the tribe, hey, I found something new. Why don't you check it out this way? It's where the individual and the tribe meet up, and we need to meet up. The tribe doesn't meet the collective anywhere. And it meets the sacral through the tribal circuitry, but ego doesn't meet it directly. Ego meets the individual directly here, and here alone, actually. Um, so I think that this gate literally wants to burn on fire with certain things or avoid the fire of certain things, especially as you get closer to that 6 line where it's like, I'll just go my own way. But I think the first line of 51 is reference, isn't it? It's reference.
51 is reference, yes.
So it's the reference of past experience brought through to the fire of right now. That will I leap forward? Well, Custer leapt forward and he got his head cut off. Maybe I won't leap on this one. Reference, because you will leap into certain things. Keep taking that word leap and recognize 51 is meant to see its share of blood from its own skinned knees, blood from the whatever you did. You cut yourself, you got some tracks on your head because you fall and stuff, whatever. You take chances. You ride that bike over a jump. You want to climb the tree. You can't help it. There's a fiery excitement, and it's humanity's capacity to do what all spiritual things require, to step into the unknown. You can take the word leap out. You can stroll into the unknown. You don't have to leap, but at the end of the day, it looks like a leap because everyone's like, what the heck are you doing? So the tribe has to allow this. Think about that. Tribe has to allow it. They can't simply shun the 51. The tribe will fail if it attempts to shun the 51 because the ego is the tribe. Everything connected to it as well, but
and it needs the 51.
Needs it. Absolutely needs to do what the tribe may seem like it's all business, but the tribe has a deep connected history into its past and into its potential spiritual and mystical way. The tribe's always beating a drum for something, having a type of thing that it does over and over again, a custom, a ritual, big on rituals. You know what I mean? Tribe demand blood and sacrifices of some sort. It demands the right religion. These things are here, but 51 still has the capacity to change all of that. And the tribe and all the tribal definition and all the circuitry of the tribe, all of it must give way to 51 sometimes. So if you got a 51 on your body graph and you're in your tribe, sooner or later, if you spend your whole life there, you will not spend a whole lifetime. That 51 did not challenge the values of the tribe. One way, shape, or form. No, I'm a little bit gay. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit gay. That 51 could tell the tribal leader that at some point in time, 51 can come out of the closet, in other words, so to speak. And that's a big deal, right? I'm just trying to think of something that might be weird in the tribe, and 51 finally says, well, what are you going to do, kick me out? And the tribe is like, no, we must take in new blood into our tribe. We must. We can't just stay this way. We will stagnate. And they know they'll stagnate if they don't take in new blood. And 51 is the source of that new blood. And it's no coincidence that is the arousing of the stagnant. So.
To follow up on your hypotheses about Evel Knievel, the stuntman, he totally has gate 51 on an undefined will. He's got 51.3, which is adaptation, the power of spontaneity in times of change. So shock and crazy things, but oh no, it's time to pull the parachute.
Yep. I'm up in the air going over Caesar's palace right now, and I will adapt on the way down, apparently. That is a good one. I love line 351, that adaptation.
Also completely unrelated to our conversation, but he has a completely open route, which is kind of funny for impulsiveness.
Yeah, that is funny.
That is funny. But yeah, so gate 51, it's the only individual circuitry of the will center, which is interesting. I mean, we've already been kind of talking about that as the will center is extremely tribal with the other 3 gates, but 51 is going to bring something new. It's going to shock. It's going to jump into the unknown. It's going to find some new resources in gate 25, some new objects that can help the tribe. And if the tribe accepts them, then cool. Like these are worthwhile new things, but maybe sometimes they're not. So
And that becomes a delicate dance in the tribe, doesn't it? 21's like, what is this BS? 26 is like, oh, 21's going to have something to say to you. 40's still like, dude, I'm busy working, waiting for my point of liberation. Maybe, maybe not, 40 will say, is there affection on the other side of that? But 51 may not get its way 4 times, and then the 5th time it does. Somehow, way, shape, or form, 50 may say, I don't care if I get my way, I'm going my own way. I struck out on my own, because innocence can do that. The rock need not toil. It strikes out on its own by definition, by just sitting there as a rock. And even a rock has a gate 25 in it. 51 seeks the glory of God in gate 25, and it will leap anywhere to go find it. It's incredibly brave. It's the archetype of bravery, being afraid and doing it anyway. 21's like, dude, I am afraid, and I'll only do it if I absolutely have to. 50 will say, no, I'm just doing it just for the spiritual nature of this. I must. Dude, that's crazy. Don't do it. I must. 20, and the rest of the gates will be a little more practical about all of that. Not 51 need not consider its practicality. It need consider its landing pad. And need not even consider that at first. It will consider it on the way down, like gate 3, like line 3 demands in Evel Knievel. That's so funny.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that. Yeah, 51 is always shocked out of the tribe, I find. I have the 51-6, and I find it's like I got a place in the tribe, but kind of not, and I'll always get shocked out of the tribe, and then I'll find my way back into the tribe, but always kind of shock out of it and find some new things. And like you said, maybe 9 times out of 10, they don't like my findings, but that 1 in 10, it's something good.
It's something good, and you wait around. You'll support your tribe for the sake of that 1 in 10. Until it gets to be too much. There is a point in time when it's not fair anymore, I'm sure, but a well-embedded 51 isn't eager to just leave the tribe.
No, we just leave for a little bit and then we kind of come back.
For a bit. And
see what we
they're
find.
also not eager to shut up about it necessarily. I did this thing. Because it's part of your identity. It goes straight to the identity and the love of all things, into the vessel of love. You and I know intimately. We both have it. 51 shocks alive the life. It starts the beat of the heart, and it literally, going into 25, it's like the spiritual innocence that says, I must survive. Imagine that. We have a genetic proclivity to leap into the thing that is the unknown. It could be the abyss. It could be the jaws of 10 alligators. We don't know.
Might be a feather bed.
And it could be a feather bed, and it could be the love of your life. And it certainly is at the love of all things. The leap is at the love, the universal love of every last speck that we're connected to anyways. That all things are interrelated is inherent and seen as the active approach to a leap. So.
Also interesting is that individual willpower is guided and necessitates innocence.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Right? Like the only individual willpower that we have, the other 3 gates are tribal. The only individual willpower within our programming and our design is predicated upon innocence of the 25.
I love that. That is an incredible spiritual message. That is a deeply profound message. It's not a measurable message, and you can't take it to the bank. Right? Yet we do it. I find that incredible. It's the 51 is the beating heart of the ego, in my opinion. What were you going to say, Mom?
Oh, yeah, just like 25, it's uncontrived. It's that innocent. So it's not like individual will. It's not this for the greater good of me, even though it seems that way, because it's individual willpower. So it is the individual going their own way, but it's predicated from this place of innocence as its foundation. And I find that very interesting. It's almost like a check and balance kind of thing.
The innocence of the universal love of all things seems like an ordained message by God himself. It really does. So God sanctions this leap. You can look at it that way. And it is very, very mystical, because we can't know what's on the other side. There's no practical reason you can put onto the leap in the first moment of it, per se. Sometimes you can, but per se you can't.
Yeah, no, just going. Like, I mean, my will is unconscious, so it's always a surprise to me. Like, oh, okay, I guess I have energy to go in this crazy new direction and do this wild new thing. But
Right.
it's just the body is just moving. It's not an awareness center. It's not the spleen. It's not the solar plexus or the ajna. It's very unaware will.
Right.
It's just like, I'm going in this new directions. I'm gonna machete through this jungle and see where I end up.
Both of them are unaware. The whole process is just innate. It's baked in. It need not be thought, mind, emotional and waved, solar or splenic hit. It need not end. It has none of that awareness in it. So our divinest way, sanctioned deepest by God Himself, is not about our human awareness. Our human awareness is there to make sense of all of that later and along the way. Spleen will still do what it takes to keep you safe. So don't leap now. Wait 2 seconds. Okay, now leap. That's good spleen business there, right?
51
Hey,
is like,
hold on, no,
oh,
no,
here we go.
one more second. Okay, now leap,
Uh-huh.
But 51 still says, well, dude, you got 10 seconds. I'm leaping, and it's going to go. And
Mhm.
25 is the innocence to catch it. I picked up 51 in my Chiron return going on. It's getting on to 10 years ago now. And I feel that energy show up. It's not part of my natal chart. It's not actually one of the codons I possess per se, but it's an essence that shows up in your Chiron return after about age 50. And even when I was just a 25, with just a 25 as a vessel in a defined G center, I loved the excitement. I loved it when it came along. My innocence made no judgment. Yay, we're running here. We're going fast. Da, 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 da. And my mother would scream out, Daniel, where'd you supposed to tell me? I need to know where you were. But whatever the thing was, innocence took me away, Ma. I didn't have the language to tell her.
Yeah.
I probably lied, so I wouldn't
It
get in
would be
trouble.
real.
Yeah, miserable little kid in that way. But I wasn't. I was just innocent. The innocence I was swept away, all gentle like on a breeze, like Forrest says when they show the little feather floating along. That's 25 and 51 technically. So I feel good about this.
Good stuff. So 51, the arousing, the shock, the individual lightning bolt that finds its way
I
into.
like a lightning bolt, thunder over thunder.
Yeah.
I actually expanded that at one time. I remember hearing Ross say lightning and thunder over and under.
Hmm.
Now the lightning isn't part of the I Ching way, but I mean it is a lightning strike, this 51.
Yeah. It's that kind of out of nowhere shock that you just have the grace to survive. So now tying these all together, these are our 4 gates of the will center, this ego, material world, resources, willpower, and there's 3 tribal and 1 individual.
Hi, I'm the ego. I really have this individual desire to find something new. I want something new under the sun. And 21, make sure we control the environment because sometimes we need to find something new under the sun. And 26, transmit the message when we did find something new under the sun. And 40 says, I'm going to make sure the work continues to whatever was new under the sun that just got found. It was good for the tribe. Good find, kid. We're going to get the work to make sure that gets done. And this is the ego supportive mechanism in service of the individual. The ego seems like it serves the tribe. It does on its mundane plight through it all, but all definition serves the individual. You can count on that in all your human sign readings. And every time you read for something, every time you're looking at a chart, you recognize that definition you're looking at in those gates, some way, shape, or form, and that cross is there to serve the individual uniqueness that comes in a pulse. That's the God frequency. That's the sound that goes right through the center of the body graph when you get into the advanced mechanics. And it is our connection to the rest of source. So that's the ego in a nutshell. And it loves to bluster and roar and get it done. And even 51 would love to bluster and roar sometimes when it's getting it done. Bitches, I did it. You know what I mean? It's got the thing. Sorry. It just, it knows that it did it.
It
And
did something cool.
and it's cool. And it competes. The ego, even 40 competes. The ego competes. That's okay. There's ugly competition. That's 7 centered. And there's awake and aware competition with our own selves that just wants to do it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like it's watching like a good game. It's watching a good baseball game or something. It's watching an
Hmm.
awesome basketball or hockey game, like competition, and its high expression can be something so beautiful and can really push us
Absolutely.
beyond what we think is possible. I mean, that's like the beauty of athletics.
Yep. And it's the beauty of competition, generally speaking. The nine-centered version of competition is an exalted thing, and the seven centers an ugly, murderous killer thing. So get out of our old seven-centered ego, because once upon a time, ego ruled the world only, within the manifester. But not now. It's part of the world like everything else. And
Yeah,
it
the
rules plenty of things. And 21 will rule some stuff, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, but again, it's like that high expression that we're looking for. It's like the will can rally. Like the will is like a heartbeat that allows for nitro boost. Like when you're playing like a racing car game, you got your regular speed and then you can hit that nitro boost for like a little bit of time, but you could rally and make it happen. And then it's got to like have some time to like refill up. And I find that
and
really
rest.
interesting. Yeah, it needs to rest to be able to like beat the heart again and to pump again. So the will center being able to rally is really neat. And my other ego projector friend went to a human design conference and they did different aura experiments. One of which is that they put all the undefined wills together and then the defined wills together. So he was in the group of, 5 or 6 defined wills hanging out just to see what that feels like. And he said that them in that group of defined wills felt like they could do anything. Like between all of them, between the 5 of them with defined wills, they could do anything. They can make anything happen. They could rally. They could put their skills and their resources together and they can make anything happen.
And they would be right. Ego is, I mean, there's only three manifesting channels, and one of them is 2145.
Mm-hmm.
That says something. That's an important aspect of the body graph and the way our mechanics are set up generally. Manifestation is very much ego business, period. It's very much controlled ego business that is fiery and does like to compete. It wants to pour that out into the world. Absolutely. And
And
then
then
get its rest.
yeah, absolutely. Definitely needs its rest. Like the heartbeat can pump and then needs to rest. What's interesting though is like if you're thinking about like the 4 motor centers, like the root center has the pulse to start something.
Can we go back to full screen? Just me and you out of the slide?
Sure, yeah. I just figured we were going to keep it up, but that's fine. No,
People
that's
seeing it enough.
just me. Here we go. Yeah, comparing with all the motor centers, right? The root center, it gets something going. It's a pulse to start. The sacral is in response and it only has energy for what that sacral is like. Yeah, I got energy for this, or nope, too bad. The
Right.
solar plexus can be incredibly powerful once it finds that clarity, but still needs to find the clarity. It was with the will center, we could rally to anything if we want. Like
If you want.
if I want, if we're into it, I can do it. And don't waste my time if somebody else can do it. Like somebody else can do that, let them do it. You call me when you need the specialist who can only do what I can do, but we can rally in a way that's very different than the other motors feel more confined in a way.
Yeah,
The
I
the
agree with that. I agree with your analysis, Moni. I totally agree with that. Yep.
Thank you.
They can rally, choose to rally, can do it even just at any given time. And they don't need that clarity, and they don't need that sacral hit, and they don't even need to feel that root pressure on or off. Meaning, like what you're pointing to is that the will is perfectly, you pointed out a thing. You said, hey, if someone else can do it and they got that, that's fine. Because the ego knows it's got nothing to prove, because it knows it can prove it if it feels like it. It's like
Hmm.
gate 12 says, I know I can if I'm in the mood. It's a manifesting thing. And the ego is very much about manifestation
Hmm.
at the end of the day, because it gets out to the throat. And it's just like you said, it doesn't feel bad. It knows, whatever. I already know I can if I feel like it. If someone else got it, I got nothing to prove that way. It's comfortable with its nothingness to prove. Whereas the open ego has to learn that it has nothing to prove and internalize that. So when it goes about the business of suddenly proving something, that's simply because its individual definition was empowered to do so. Its sacral gave the energy to do so. Its projectorness recognized, oh God, I'm definitely proving this. You know what I mean? And on and on. If I go through and keynote all the other
Hmm.
aspects, and So open ego people prove plenty of stuff, but it's not by virtue of the competition with itself and potentially with others. It's by virtue of its empowerment in the now that just suddenly is proving something.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And just in continuing that comparison with like the four motors, the will can choose, but it can't do it consistently. Like I can rally and I can do that nitro boost and I can make something cool happen, but I can't keep it going for an extended period of time. You know, it's like I got an hour or two and then I got to lay down for a little bit before I can do something again. So it's just very interesting in doing like a contrast and comparison with the different
It can
motors.
choose. That is the greatest way to put it. I don't think any of the other motors can choose like that.
No, it doesn't seem like it because the root is just
The
getting a
smaller plex
pulse.
can choose, but it's sloppy business if it's not clear. Because if
It
it
can be
chooses,
getting a mess if it
yeah, getting a
agrees to
mess. If it
something. Yeah.
chooses now, ego can choose right now. That's it. Right now, I choose.
Hmm.
Root has no choice of anything. It's just constant. Root is always on, by the way. It's always pouring out. It's either governed or not, like the start codon says, releasing one at a time, but it's always releasing. Sacral has no choice in anything. It's open and enveloping. If you have a defined sacral, by definition, open and enveloping aura. So it doesn't even get to choose what comes in on it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But ego, absolutely, of all the motors, ego gets to choose.
But,
And that makes sense for the ego. Hey, that's my choice. That's not yours.
hmm.
That's an
And it,
ego thing to say.
yeah, and just, but it also has to be choosy because it's like if you choose A
Indeed.
and then you're not going to have the energy for B.
Right.
Like you got to
Ego is
be
meant
really
to
choosy. So,
sprint.
yeah, it's like you can be choosy with the defined will, but then okay, well, you wasted your energy doing this thing, so now you're not going to have it on this other thing, which is why it's like don't make me do something that someone else can easily do with a defined sacral that's into it because let them use their flowy energy for it. You
Right,
tell me when
right,
you don't
right.
have somebody who
They'll
can
be
do
stuck
that.
doing it till 2 a.m. and they can't even help it, and they're happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. That's a really interesting keynote and an interesting aspect and a flavor to add into the ego. The ego gets to choose. The ego does get to choose. I've watched egos choose over and over again. It's an amazing thing,
Hmm. But
and
it's
it's
like, yeah,
obvious.
you got to
It's
be smart about it though.
right. Sacral's obviousness isn't so obvious right away. I mean, it takes a moment for other people to see, oh, I guess that thing's going on. But the ego can actually announce its obviousness and its choosingness that it chooses to do something. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
Super
And
cool.
if you
All
got
right.
an open ego, you got nothing to prove. You got nothing to prove, and you
Yeah, don't
think
go
you do.
chasing it.
Well, and that's going to be hard for people to really take in and understand, but at first, but that's what the coaching's all about. You got nothing to prove, and it's a beautiful place to be. I have an open ego. I don't have to prove it. And when I
Hmm.
find myself proving it, I didn't even try.
Hmm. Yeah, don't go
So,
chasing it because I also find with undefined egos, someone a family member told me this. Like she's accomplished so many things, like wildly amazing things, and she never gets that sense of I did it and I'm done now. Like she doesn't get the satisfaction of proving something because she's an open will. Like it's not there, so she can chase that, but there's nothing worthwhile about it. So if you have an undefined will, you don't have to prove anything. And even more than that, you won't get the satisfaction. You won't get that feeling of I did this in the way a defined will would. So it's almost like a double whammy.
and you need to stop trying because the proving very often is you're trying to prove your own self-worth because you doubt your own worthiness and worth, and you can't tell and you can't measure it. And you take an ego being at a job interview and a non-ego being, and the ego being, you both get hired, but chances are the ego being made $1 more an hour than you did because they knew to say it and you couldn't quite measure your own worth, and that's the unworthiness that is the open ego that is trying to prove stuff because it figures proving something will alleviate the pressure of feeling unworthy. Just like being in a hurry would alleviate the pressure of an open route when it's not, when
It
it won't
never
do that.
does.
No, except if you have an open route and you find the thing you like to be in a hurry about, run, run, Forrest. To have fun. It's great.
Uh-huh.
Be wise because it's only going to be one thing. It's not the 100 that your open head center is thinking about too many things about. So now you see why, coaching in this whole area is going to be so important over time. I want a university. Where's the HD university? We need, that'd be a good thing.
Well,
HD university for lay people, not to learn human design, to learn their design for their kids and just sort of how it. One day we'll start teaching this stuff where we don't have to make it sound like, the words of the high Arkan covenant people from on high giving us words from the gods, you know, raining down on the poor little humans. That's what human design sounds like sometimes at first because it's so much. One day it'll just be like, oh yeah, you got this, this, and this. Oh hey, don't worry about that. You'll like this. You'll notice as I say it, it even feels good when you think about it.
yeah, it'll become that critical mass thing where there's enough of a frame of reference that,
That's what it is. Yeah.
yeah, there's gonna be enough of a frame of reference because it's like, everybody doesn't need to learn this as in depth as us. Like if you want to, awesome, please. I would love more people to talk to about this. But for the most part, it's like, hey, you're a sacral generator, you're a magic 8 ball, run with life through like that. Like that's enough for a lot of people. So I feel like
Right.
we're developing to that level of critical mass where you'll have your super nerds, but you'll also have a lot more average people, or with kids in schools. Hey, let the
That can take
generators
and
have.
believe the few nuggets you give them, and they'll just believe it. Like the doctor will say, "Oh, this is what you need. Put this, rub this on there," and you just believe it.
Yeah, it's my sister has, like 4 kids, and what, 2 of them are sacrals, and there's a point that hits at, whatever time at night where they just start running around like mad and they have the zoomies. And she was kind of like, uh-oh, like, is this a bad thing? Like, do they need to start winding down for bed? And it's like, no, let them run it out. They're sacral, and then they'll sleep great. And they do. And the other 2 are manifestors. Okay, lay down early. It's like those little things that I think are going to become more ubiquitous in especially helping parents and kids and how to manage all that because it's a lot. But hey, now your kid's sleeping properly. That's a big relief.
The manifestors and the projectors and the reflectors don't get pissed, I bet, that their brother or sister generators stayed up a little later than they did. Did you concern yourself that your siblings might have stayed up later than you if they were generators or any of that?
I mean,
You
it wasn't a
remember?
matter of concerning myself. I had no sense of, hey, this is enough, you should lay down. Like if there was a sense of, hey, you're a sensitive little projector that needs some time alone and needs to lay down in the day, that would have been great. But it was just living in generator world. And here's another thing. And
Right.
here's school, here's after school, here's choir, here's sports, here's extracurricular, here's band.
Okay, I get it.
Grateful for all the opportunities and learnings, but I was just drained and continually going. So there would be no level of awareness to lay down because there was no opportunity. No one knew to say, hey, this one needs to lay down more frequently. That would have been great. So
Right. Right.
it's hard to make that comparison.
Wow. I would love to hear about your sister if the 2 manifestors care that sometimes the 2 generators are up later.
The
I
one
mean, that's the way it
manifester
works out, right?
the one manifester wants to go off on his own. He's got caves environment and he just wants everyone to leave him alone. And then the other one is just caught up in all the sacral buzz, not knowing when enough is enough and just being a little,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, just being a little insufferable. So, bits and pieces where I
Bits and
think,
pieces.
people will learn it with kids and their own well-being and,
Yep.
all that.
Indeed.
We got a comment
Well,
from Q.
I
We
feel
got
pretty good about all this. Oh, we got another thing. Let's
Yeah.
see.
I always tried staying up late and finding human design. I learned I need to hibernate to get proper rest as a manifester. Absolutely.
You do. And by the way, you need to break the aura because the generative aura covers the planet. It covers the whole planet. So anyone in your household, you need to get a good 8, 10 feet away from them for at least a little bit if you can before
Mm-hmm.
you go to bed. Reading a book helps. I'm glad you found that, Joy. That changed your life, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Being able to like lay down and get away from the generator buzz, like that's
And not feel
magic.
bad.
Yeah. Or knowing like when my boyfriend, he's a manifesting generator, sleeping phoenix, he is busy, 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 busy. And knowing like, hey, get out of the way when he's getting ready for work. And I could feel it because I'll feel like I should be doing something. Something's wrong. I shouldn't be laying down and resting. It's like, no, he's getting ready for work. Let that sacral buzz around and leave. And as soon as he's out of the house, I'm like, okay, now I got to go lay down for, 20 minutes, half hour to just recover from his sacral buzz of getting
Wow.
ready to leave. Yeah. But at least now knowing it, because I would feel bad. Oh, he's going to be mad at me. I'm being lazy. I'm not doing enough. And it's like, he's never, ever been like on me about being lazy of all things. Like I'm constantly doing stuff. So being able to have that awareness of, oh, I feel it's almost like popcorn popping, like now, 3420, now. And so recognizing that, where I'm like, are you getting ready to go to work? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll just keep laying down then. So
Right.
let me just get out of the way of that
I'm pretty sure
buzzy
there's
energy.
nothing I need to do here.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could just feel it as he leaves, and it's like settles. And I'm like, okay, now I'm just in my own energy. Okay,
Well, plus
what
you have that fifth color motivation, right? Is that right?
guilt? Yeah, I fix things.
So you and the feeling like you have to do something.
Oh, constantly, Jesus.
Yep.
Like I was raised Polish Catholic. There's a lot of guilt in there. You got to fix
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
make it nice, clean.
My motivation is desire, and that color, third color.
That sounds more fun.
No, because it got me in lots of trouble. I constantly, when I was little, and I didn't know when to stop because, right, everything is always right now because of the MG in me. I was constantly inserting my desire into every last little thing. Let's go
Mm.
here. Let's do this. Let's do this. And
Oh, trying to initiate instead of
yes, and that created a great deal of initiation at a young age when I didn't know better, and it also brought me to things like fire and fast and heights and everything else, like quickly and abandoning the family as well. If the family showed up, I desired to go find others because I can't leave my family.
mm.
They wouldn't play out my desires per se. I had to do them on my own, which meant strangers. So I was Mr. the inventor of stranger danger, for my mom, my poor mother. It's the only
Friends.
place I get that desire taken care of, really.
That makes sense, especially as like a fourth line because you're 2-4.
Mm.
Friends with Audio wrote me, projector, X, manifesting generator. I constantly felt like I was trying to keep up with them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
XMG. That's a funny way to put that, my friend. That was good.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot, like, and it's so delightful because sacral energy is life force. It's life force and buzz and ooh, they can do so many things. And being a projector, we're like so focused in on them, and you almost have to be invited out when we are caught up in the generator, again, that engulfing aura. Like it's hilarious with my boyfriend. I inadvertently like follow him around our place. I don't mean to, but it's like getting caught up in like the wake, in getting caught up in like a
That,
jellyfish. Like
that happens
jellyfish,
with my roommate.
yeah, jellyfish don't move on their own. They just move with the currents. And that's what it kind of feels like as a projector with a sacral around. I don't mean to be following him around, but wow, I'm just a few steps behind him, just carrying along in the stream.
Wow. It's so, and you're reminding me of exactly what with my roommate. She's a projector and emotional, motorized ego projector with all kinds of stuff with a 58, 18, and 1762, so triple split, and she's always got to get out and then get in. But the thing is, as soon as we start talking about something, she does. She'll, if I move, she keeps moving with me, and it's the weirdest phenomenon. I point it out to her once in a while, and I get really sensitive as soon as it's 8:30 or 9. It's like you need to check out. I'll just tell her. She doesn't even really know her design. She wasn't super open necessarily to like in-depth reading every day or anything like that, which is fine. I would
Mhm.
just tell her, it's like, dude, it's about that time. Aren't you're running down on juice, right?
Because
So I
the
wouldn't even give,
generator will know when enough is enough, but the
yeah.
projector won't. Like the non-sacrals, we just don't. There's not the data. I'm like, you're done now. You should stop.
So like last year I would forget and I would say something else and I would start right back up. And now when I make that statement, I'd be like the dealer at a card table, the dealer in Vegas. They just shut up. They don't get to talk until they've dealt them cards. I deal them cards and I wait for her to. I
That's
just
fun.
shut up. Yeah, nothing but pleasantry. Have a good night.
Go
It.
away. I love you. I love you.
Yep.
Go away.
Yep. For your own good, go away.
Yeah.
Essentially, because I know it's that time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and if we overpush it, if we like you as like an undefined sacral, like if we overpush it and miss our like sleep window And if I get too caught into his schedule and staying up too late, it throws me off for such a long time until I could like whittle myself back to like, hey, maybe lay down by like
You
11
can
or
get
midnight.
thrown off for a couple days in a row, can't you?
More than a couple days. Like I can get,
Wow.
well, because he's got the 5, I got the 15, so I got my extremes and he's got the consistency. But if I
Right.
start getting caught up in staying up too late regularly, because he'll stay up later than me, then yeah, I'll definitely get caught up in that for like weeks at a time. And I'm like, it's 2 a.m. I should not still be awake. Like not
Right.
a good idea.
Right. Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm glad we had this talk, and I'm glad we put spleen and ego together. That felt like that felt good. That
Yay.
felt good. And I've got nothing else to really say about it. I think we're all talked out.
Yeah, I think we covered all the things on the spleen and the ego. So thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who is watching and commenting. This was super fun with all the comments and like interacting more. Thank you for hanging out. If you got anything
Felt like
out
a
of this,
million bucks. Yeah.
oh yeah, it was so good. And if you guys got anything out of this, if you can do us a favor and hit that like button, it really helps us. I know it seems like a really silly thing and everyone always says it, but it does actually really help. So thank you so much for that. Thanks for hanging out. Next week, we're going to be continuing on our series of the gates through centers. We're going to go through all the gates of the solar plexus centers. So that's going to be really, really exciting. So it'll be fun.
Yep. Bring your charts, bring your friends, and we'll see you next week. Much love.
See you next week.